Right, folks, this is a new podcast from the Two Mics, and I'm going to give you old energy boy, MG, to introduce it.
Yeah, we've edited out all the nonsense from Mike Porky Parry, so it might be a bit shorter than usual.
Ha, 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 ha.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mics right here on talkSPORT. It's all about excellence this morning on talkSPORT. The excellence of Chris Coleman and Wales, the excellence of Eddie Jones and his advice for Gareth Southgate about pampered players and their motor cars, and the excellence of Jose Mourinho, who says he's a specialist in success. Can there be any doubt that he's going to lead Manchester United to the Premier League title? We'll tell you why. 08717 22 3344. Coming up later in the show, we're talking to the legend that is John Motson, who's retired after a 50-year career, and it's Porky Vision as well. The best TV review this side of Ulaanbaatar. You won't want to miss it. There's loads of other stuff going on as well. You're listening to the Two Mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on talkSPORT. This is talkSPORT. We are the Two Mics, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, and a good morning to you, Mike. And you are absolutely right to lead the show and raise the issue on Jose Mourinho.
Jose Mourinho, yes, a man who divides opinion, I think you'll find.
Well, he's not dividing opinion much at the moment because everybody knows he's got his mojo back, and this boy looks like a winner, right? And I have to say that the interview today, conducted by Oliver Kay of The Times, is one of the terrific interviews of the year.
Oliver's going to be joining us in due course.
He is, because all the best people come on to the Two Mic show
That's
to
exactly
tell
right.
us what the thinking is behind this
Along
great
with John
piece.
Motson, who's coming
John
on
Motson's
the show
coming
later
on.
as well.
That's
We
right.
might be talking to Richard Branson. We'll see how we get on with
We're
that.
going to try and get hold of Richard at my former holiday location.
That's right, Necker
Island.
Yeah.
A very exclusive location. Very few people have ever been there, but I have. And I hope that...
well, you'll be able to give us a blow-by-blow account of the hurricane blinds that they've got there, will you?
Yeah, the hurricane blinds, absolutely. What's the name of this hurricane?
It's called...
Orca? Orca or something, is it?
It's not Orca, no. It
It
begins with an I.
I.
Hurricane Irma.
Irma. IKEA? Hurricane IKEA?
Well, what was funny, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. They have great names in America for hurricanes. They started naming storms here.
Yes.
And if it was here and it was a letter I, it would be something like
Ian.
Hurricane Ian.
Ian,
And it just doesn't sound very threatening.
Boring name like
the
that.
Hurricane Irma sounds really threatening.
That,
and it is. It's the biggest and strongest Caribbean storm of all time.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
and it's hit Barbuda already.
Yeah, my former host, Mr. Branson.
Oh, yes.
Sir Richard, of course.
Yes.
Is he Sir Richard?
I think he is, yeah.
Or was he Lord Branson?
He's not Lord,
Sir
no.
Richard,
He's
isn't
Sir
he?
Richard.
When
you were there, I suspect he was not Sir Richard.
No, I don't think he was. But he's already had to rebuild the island once after the fire, which,
Yeah, that was a bit weird,
It was a bit weird, yeah. And he has rebuilt it very strongly. And
Wasn't
all
that the one that Kate Winslet was involved in?
Kate Winslet rescued his mother from death.
Right.
It is said.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
Good story.
As the flames
He's a great PR man, isn't he?
as the flames are licking around Kate Winslet's feet, the most famous actress in the world,
Right.
she had Richard Branson's mother across her shoulder and scaled the cliff down to the beach to rescue
How
the
come
mother.
you never got yourself a job as his PR man?
I don't know. But listen, let's
get back to Jose Mourinho.
I was going to get back to Jose, of course. He's given this great talk.
Yeah.
And you just know that the echo of this is that this man has got his mojo back. He's the resilient, arrogant, self-believing individual that he was when he first came to this country and called himself the special one, which he's been on and off ever since. And if his halo had started to slip over the last couple of seasons, it has now restored itself.
I think it has. One of my favourite quotes on the need to win. He says this: I always think a little bit of pressure is good. I don't like the sea to be flat.
I love that. I
think that's terrific, isn't it?
And this interview took place, by the way, in one of Britain's greatest neighbourhoods. It's made clear at the start. Here we go. All in Jose's kingdom appears to be calm on an antique sofa at the top of a sweeping staircase at Carlton House Terrace in London's most aristocratic neighbourhood.
Are you talking about Mayfair?
Isn't that one of my favourite restaurant rib rooms? Is Carlton House Terrace?
I don't know.
The circular hotel.
You're thinking of the Carlton
Tower.
Carlton Tower.
Yeah.
But is that the same as Carlton House Terrace? I'm not sure if it is.
Well, it's got to be pretty close by, I would say. But anyway, look, going to be great
talking. I
talking
don't really care
to.
where the interview took place.
Well, I do.
That's not of any interest to anyone.
No, you don't understand this, you see. You don't understand
there
this.
are people listening to this show in Leeds, in Carlisle, in Glasgow, in Inverness, in Dublin, in Riyadh, in Sydney.
Yes.
They don't care which part of London the interview took place in.
Yeah, but you have to understand, Mike, you see, I'm all about atmosphere. I'm all about the backdrop.
Usually.
I'm all about the colour. And what I'm saying is that only the best for Jose, the best location. And who would doubt now that we are probably looking at, as we look at this, we're looking at the man who's probably going to be the manager.
Well,
of the
you
next
tell
Premier
me
League
why
champion.
you think he's going to lead Manchester United to the title.
Because I think he's found his mojo.
Yeah, is that it?
Yeah.
That's your only reason?
That's the only reason you need with Jose.
Well, you see, I mean, last year, for example, although he always says when he first goes to a football club, this is not my team,
yes.
my team will be my team next season, I suppose he certainly started terribly well. They haven't conceded a goal.
Yep.
They've scored a lot of goals. Lukaku seems to be firing them in from all points around the
Premier League,
around the pitch. And, they look very good. Marcus Rashford looks very good.
Yeah.
Paul Pogba's starting to look very good as well.
Yes, that's right, he is. Starting to fit in.
And so it does seem as though things are moving along. But last season, he kind of was the stealth manager of Manchester United because you didn't really see him in his true light. And yet they won entry to the Champions League by winning the Europa League.
Yes.
They managed to keep themselves in contention for the top four, even though they didn't finally make it there. Yeah. But, I mean, a lot of the complaints from Manchester United fans were he's not playing the kind of football we're used to seeing.
He's not mojoing.
Well, stop with the mojo rubbish.
No, it's
that's all this mumbo-jumbo.
Because, look, he's having a go at other managers as well. He's not naming them by name, but he's saying it's all very well, these managers talking about playing beautiful football, and attractive football for the fans and all that. He says, but you've got to bring an element of pragmatism into football, OK? If a manager defends a doctrine of I win and I play amazingly well, then I applaud it. But the ones who don't win but still think they play amazingly well, I don't understand it.
Yes,
so,
indeed.
There's all of that.
Well, he has to go to Arsene Wenger as well without naming him. He says this, right? What is the opposite of success? Failure. Failure, he says. You can leave the club in a condition for failure, and that is a short-term manager. You can be there 10 or 20 years, and when you leave, the club is ready for failure. He's talking about Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger has been at Arsenal for 26 years, and you'd have to say when he does leave, it's going to be a right old mess, isn't it?
It's going to be a right
carnage.
Can of worms.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing he says, and this pains my heart, is that if the Lukaku transfer had taken place a month later, so if Jose hadn't gone and done his business early, and this is a salute to Jose, by the way, but a bit of a pain in the heart to Everton. After the Neymar transfer changed everything in terms of values of players, Lukaku might have cost £150 million.
Well, he's
not
taking
75.
Credit. He's taking credit for that, basically. He's saying because of his foresight, because of his wish to speed that along, they saved themselves about 75 million quid. He may well be right about that. We want to hear from some Manchester United fans and some Chelsea fans as well, because some Chelsea fans would say, well, hang on, Jose Mourinho left Chelsea ready for failure because when he walked away, basically, they were in a terrible mess, weren't they? And it took them another year before they recovered. But on the other hand, they did then come back and win the Premier League last season.
Of course they did.
So we want to hear from Chelsea fans.
So his point is justified then?
Well, no, because...
His point is completely justified.
Well, no, it's not, because he is a megalomaniac, right, is Jose Mourinho, which is probably required
Nothing wrong
if
with
you
that.
are... There's nothing necessarily wrong with if you're a football manager. I mean, you could say, for example, the fact that Chelsea won the title the year after I left shows that I left them in a great place. Which is not true, because when he was there... They ended up way down the table. When he left, the club was in disarray. There was practically a sort of a...
But it took one season to put it right.
Yeah, I know, but it wasn't him that put it right. So how can he then claim that he was the one that created the circumstances and to win the league?
How long has it taken Manchester United to put themselves right since Sir Alex left them with a league title, hey?
Well, it's taken them 2 years because they had that dud David Moyes that you've always defended as a great manager. And they also then had Louis van Gaal, who actually wasn't as bad as everybody made him out to be.
for 2 years, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Yes,
and now they finally...
Years. That's 3 years altogether.
They still haven't
and
won...
then the first season of Jose, that's 4.
Yeah, but they still...
So we're into the 5th.
They haven't won a Premier League title, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And they haven't won a Champions League title.
No, well, they haven't won a title as such, although they've won things.
Well, they've won.
They
won the FA
League Cup and the League Cup, and the UEFA.
And no, it's called,
what I'm saying is
the Europa League.
This boy will always succeed wherever he goes.
Yeah, well, we need to get some callers on to get their view, because my belief is that Manchester United fans are very, very happy with him. My belief is that Chelsea fans are very, very unhappy with him.
Yes, OK. Well, let me put this question out to our millions of listeners out there,
Go
please.
on,
if you're the manager, if you're a supporter and a fan of a club which Jose is hinting that you settle for attractive football, but you don't have a winning mentality, wouldn't you say to yourself, I'd rather have Jose? Wouldn't any of us who are Premier League supporters actually say, I would like to have Jose in place of anybody I've got there now? Wouldn't you?
I don't think if you're a Chelsea fan you'd say that at all.
I think you would.
I think you'd be happy with Antonio Conte.
I think you would. The only person you wouldn't want to remove from his post is obviously Ronald Koeman, because Ronald Koeman is going to be... Yes, Mr. Koeman is going to be...
You started calling Ronald Coleman like that guy the other day who was on, who used to be a silent film star, I believe,
David Coleman.
Ronald Coleman, was he not?
That's right, Ronald Koeman. Because obviously Ronald Koeman is going to be...
What's the question?
The question is this. Any fan of any Premier League team, let's face it, you really would prefer to have Jose, wouldn't you? And if you read the piece in the Times this morning about how he's got his mojo back, which I keep telling you about, you'll realise that I do not speak with forked tongue. Give me a call, please, on 08717 22 33 44.
Yeah. Are you sure that's a good question?
It's a great question.
Is it?
You would rather have Jose Mourinho in place of your manager, wouldn't you? Any Premier League fan. That's what I'm saying.
I think I'm going to ask a different question.
Because he guarantees success.
I'm going to ask a different question,
if
you don't mind. I'm going to ask the question, is it now very clear from the way that they have started, and don't say, oh, you're going too early with this, that Jose Mourinho is going to be the manager of the year. He's going to lead Manchester United to the league title. Yeah. He's going to win the Premier League this season because he's got it all working for him.
I've been saying that for weeks.
Well, you didn't put that question out, though.
It doesn't matter. That's been my view since the second game.
No, that's rubbish. I predicted Manchester United would win the league before the league began.
Oh, really?
Yes, I did. You want to go back and find my tweet?
Where's the evidence for that?
I've got it on Twitter. If you can be bothered going back. If you ever read anybody else's Twitter apart from your own, as a narcissist, you would know that.
Once Manchester United won their first two games 4-0, I said, Jose's got his mojo back. They're going to be the Premier League
brilliant.
champions.
Fantastic. Congratulations. What a seer you are.
Right, OK, folks, you're listening to the Two Mics. We're on talkSPORT and we are with Wicks. Now then, Wicks have lowered the price on Blue Circle General Purpose Cement. Get 25 kilograms for just £3.79 each when you buy 3 or more.
Exactly right. Don't forget, we send a £100 Wix gift card to our best caller every day. So give us a call, please. 08717 22 3344. Calls to this number will cost 13 pence per minute, plus your provider's access charge. And you can find the competition rules at www.talksport.com. We've been talking about Jose Mourinho. We are going to be talking to Oliver Kay, the guy who interviewed him for The Times. It's a fascinating insight into the mindset, I suppose you might say, of Jose Mourinho right now, in terms of his winning attitude, in terms of his confidence, in terms of his arrogance.
He's got his mojo back.
He has got his mojo back, but if you say that one more time, I'm going to ban the word mojo, I think.
You can't ban me from saying mojo.
Well, I could try. Here's one from Becky, who says, the Premier League clubs need to worry. The old arrogant Jose is back. His ego will translate itself onto Manchester United's players. Yeah. Quite a lot of people have answered the question, would you want him instead of any other manager?
Yes.
But we'll reveal precisely what they're saying in a moment. Let's go to the calls first. 08717 22 3344. Dom is a Spurs fan. Let's see what he would say. Dom, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Morning, chaps. How you doing?
Yeah, hi, Dom. Very well, thank you.
Very well. You'd want Jose Mourinho as a manager, wouldn't you?
Oh, no, definitely not. I mean, you say that any Premier League club would want him as a manager, apart from Everton.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want him to replace Pochettino.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not.
Well,
I mean, you look at what Pochettino has done for our club. He's brought in young talent. He's brought in a lot of quality youth. He's getting the best out of players. Look at Dele Alli. He cost us £5 million.
Yeah, how many seasons has he been there, Dom? How many seasons has he been there?
Who, Pochettino?
Yes.
This is his third.
His third season. OK, Jose would have won the Premier League title this year with you because that's what he normally does. He either wins it in the second or third season, sometimes in the first. And that's his track record. No, that's his track record.
Yeah, but look at the money that he's had to spend and the players that he's managed to bring in with salaries and everything. That Spurs haven't had that option. Until we get our new stadium next season, we're not going to have that. And I don't think even Liverpool would want him to replace Klopp, to be honest.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, Dom, you nearly got the title in the bag last season and the season before, but you couldn't get over the line. Yeah. Jose would have got you over the line.
I disagree. I don't think, because we use a lot of younger players, and I don't think Jose translates his message across to younger players better than...
You blew it last season.
Well, you might say, Dom, that Spurs blew it 2 seasons in a row, actually, because they were up very close to Leicester, and last season they let it go as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely think we had, especially last season, was a better opportunity, I think, than the season before. Although we were up against a stronger team in Chelsea than we were in Leicester. Right. I just think that, Pochettino is better with younger players than Mourinho is. And he gets better out of them. And
how many more seasons?
The teams that Mourinho's won the title with, a lot of them have been with kind of mercenaries, if you will. Older players that have ground out results.
Well, maybe that's what you have to do, Don. But, I mean, how many more seasons will you watch Pochettino not winning anything and be happy?
To be honest, once we get into our new stadium, we get the new funding, we start to be able to pay bigger salaries. Because at the minute, our biggest earners are Harry Kane and Hugo Lloris on $100,000 a year. You know,
a week.
And you've got... $100,000 a week.
Well, it's $100,000 a year. I'm not surprised they're not playing very well.
No, but Don, to be honest,
people like Alexis Sanchez demanding £400,000 a week.
Well, Don,
when we can afford those salaries, we'll get the better players and we'll push that extra step.
I take on board your logic, but I'm afraid all you've given me is a litany of why your failure is still failure. Just a list of, it's because of this, it's because of this, it's, the new stadium, we haven't got the money, we don't pay the players.
And as Jose Mourinho says, the opposite of success is indeed failure. Yeah. Thanks very much indeed for kicking us off, Dom. Let's go to Pete, who's a Man United fan. Pete, very good morning to you.
Morning, chaps. You well?
Yeah,
Hello,
very
Pete.
well.
Good,
what do you think, Pete? You happy?
I love the Tottenham fan, by the way. I love the way they say, we promote youth and we bring up all these raw talents and make them brilliant so they can sell them in 2 years' time.
Yeah, that's right. That's what happens. Yeah. That's what happens, yeah.
I'm absolutely buzzing. I must admit, last season, and when we signed him, or when we got him on board, Mourinho, I was really worried because of the ethos of not promoting youth and, buying the Premier League title. I think Ferguson always rebuilt teams, and I think one question mark about Mourinho is he's never rebuilt a squad. He's bought his squad, he's won it, he's left. I think what he's proving now is giving the Rashford the chance and the confidence, and the Lingard's playing well, and hopefully the Shaws, but not everybody fits. I think that makes me excited more than anything. 90 million or 75 million on Lukaku, I think every club would want to do that. And Ferguson always had one big signing in with the Stams or the Varans or whoever it was. He would add a splash of quality.
Yeah.
But the most exciting thing this season is that he's got our young talent playing together with the experience. I think Matic was an absolute masterstroke because I think he's enabled us to have. I couldn't
believe Chelsea sold him to Man United. I was amazed.
He's released. I believe genuinely that he has enabled us to see the potential of Mkhitaryan, Rashford, and Pogba. Yeah. So in signing one player for 40 million, I genuinely believe we've signed 5 players.
Yes,
because we've now released all those players to do what they want. So I must admit, I was very cautious, but I'm giving him his due now, and he seems like, with his mojo back there, I say the word, he is proving to be very, very effective.
That's right.
True enough. Pete, thank you very much
See,
indeed.
everybody picks up eventually on the Porky vocabulary.
Well, the Porky vocabulary.
Jose's got his mojo back.
Yeah, please stop saying it. Ryan says this, a difficult one. Would I want a winner in Jose to replace a beaten negative Slaven Bilic? But I'm not sure even Jose could fix the mess at West Ham. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on.
Yes, we are.
Paddy says this, if Man United lost the next 2 games 4-0, Nostra Porky will be claiming, I predicted they wouldn't win the league.
No.
Donovan says, Jose has a team capable of winning the Premier League, but also the Champions League. He's adopted the attack philosophy with a solid defence.
Well, absolutely.
Now, not everybody is as keen on Jose as you think, though, because we've got a Liverpool fan here called GM who says he would definitely not want Mourinho in place of Klopp, and then he says something rather rude, which you're not going to carry on with.
Exactly.
Other people, as a City fan, says Paul, I do not want Maureen, as he's sometimes known, anywhere near my football club ever, except when we beat them at the derby.
What about Paul here, who says, Porky's mad. Jose needs a bucket of money like Gareth, Guardiola and Koeman.
Yeah.
He has done that as a manager consistently. Klopp has spent nothing. Look at LFC.
Yes.
I'm not knocking Jurgen Klopp. I love his attitude to life and football, and he does most things with a smile. But
it comes down to winning, doesn't it?
Thanks, Mike. Critical question is he going to win you a Premier League title?
Yes.
Is there a guarantee of winning your Premier League title?
There isn't.
No, but with Jose, there is.
Yeah. There is. It's going to be fascinating to see how that all pans out because they're all in the Champions League this year as well.
Yeah.
Paul says he's another Liverpool fan. As usual, Porky's talking a lot of old tosh. Man United can have Jose. We'll stick with Klopp. This season is only 3 games in.
Honestly, that is exactly what Jose's talking about now. There are winners and there are losers in life. And if you start having principles about how you want to win, i.e. we want to win with Mr. Klopp in control, you're not going to win. I mean, you might win, if you see what I mean, but you've got a much, much better chance of winning a Premier League title if Jose Mourinho was now rebuilding the Liverpool squad.
Well, look at that Liverpool-Watford game, the first game of the season. Where there was goals going in at both ends.
Shambolic.
It was great to watch, but it was mad.
Yeah.
We want more of your calls. 08717 22 3344. Oliver Kay from The Times coming up as well. This is talkSPORT. This is talkSPORT. We are the two mics, of course. We've got loads more of your calls to take. 08717 223344. Here's a good one here from Paddy, who says, I keep hearing Jose has got Mojo back. How much did he cost? I didn't know United had let him go. Very, very good interview with Jose Mourinho this morning in the Times. Oliver Kay is the man responsible for doing it. We've got him on the phone now. Oliver, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, guys.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Fascinating insight into Jose Mourinho. He doesn't give very many interviews, obviously, but what was his demeanour? And he seems to be, as Mike Parry's put it, very much back on his game.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine he would dispute or deny that he was ever off his game, but I think it was a stage probably, certainly towards the end of his time at Chelsea, and certainly sort of midway through that sort of long and fairly gruelling first season at Manchester United, where he seemed quite drained and exhausted and a little bit sort of worn down to me. And just interviewing me. I mean, I've thought watching him from afar over the past couple of weeks. He actually looks sort of fitter, healthier, younger.
I thought that last season. I thought he looked very tired and old. Funnily enough,
But he. Yeah, but he, when I saw him last week, he was looking very healthy, but he also just seemed so incredibly calm and happy with life. And I think one thing which I thought was interesting, where he said, I don't like, as he put it, the sea to be too flat.
Yeah,
he seems to, what he was saying was, he doesn't like it when it's all calm and where people are being nice about his team. He likes, there to be a bit of edge, a bit of friction, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of that ahead.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Oliver, we've seen footballers during our lifetime who were so good at what they did, like George Best maybe, or Paul Gascoigne, they just took their job for granted. And I think Jose might have gone down that route. He was so good wherever he went. And very, very telling paragraph in your piece today. It says, it's about having the most challenging project that I can have. In this moment, the United one is a great one because the club was and is living in a new period. And he goes on to say that I've now got to come in after Sir Alex, after David Moyes, after Louis van Gaal. I mean, clearly, this is now the biggest challenge of his life, to restore his credibility and Manchester United's eminence.
Yeah, it's Real Madrid was an absolute huge challenge. Chelsea was a huge challenge in a different way, and Inter obviously was a huge one where he was incredibly successful. But he has looked upon this job. I mean, it was interesting when he's out of work after Chelsea. People were thinking, well, who's going to go from next? Yeah. Because he seems to have burnt his bridges at several at the top clubs, and maybe other clubs, Barcelona, for example. Maybe he doesn't fit their style. Maybe he doesn't fit, Arsenal's style or Manchester City style. And maybe he, I've even written myself. I'm not 100% convinced he suits Manchester United's style and Manchester United's traditions, but he certainly suits their tradition of wanting to win and getting back to restoring their empire to a sense of glory, and that is all he wants to do, and he wants to get them. I mean, he's got a 3-year contract. He obviously last season he won trophies, but he admits it wasn't really the season they'd been wanting, and he feels that with 3 summer transfer windows, he will get them to the point where they are back to the top of English football, and as he puts it, closing the gap to the top of European football.
Yeah.
So if he's talking about being Premier League champions and being a top club in Europe again, a top team in Europe again, he feels that can be done by the end of next season. But what he makes clear is he's desperate to do it this season. He's not going to sort of hide behind a 3-year plan or say, it's a building process. He wants to do it now.
Sure. And how important do you think for him is it that his relationships at Manchester United are obviously pretty good? Because he seems happiest when those relationships are good, as much as he says he likes the sea to be a little bit rough. I mean, obviously he sort of fell out massively at Chelsea with the people above him. Presumably the people at Manchester United are giving him enough of what he wants to have to make him happy.
Yeah, I mean, he seems happy and spoke contentedly about the transfer business they've done. I mean, everybody knows, and he's made no secret of the fact he wanted a fourth player in the summer, a winger, and there was the bid for Perisic. There was a strong interest in Bale. There was a strong interest in Ronaldo at one stage, even though I don't think that was ever that realistic. But he's he's happy with what's been done this summer, the way they've done it, the speed with which they did the deals in the end. And it does seem. I mean, I think one thing that perhaps he likes about United is that there's not a sort of wealth of people between boardroom and manager's office. There's not, a director of football. There's not a sort of advisor to the owner. There's the Glazers who are off in Florida and pay very little interest in the football side of things, sadly. And then there's Ed Woodward in Manchester, London. And basically, the football department is run by him, and that suits him. Whether he's the perfect sort of sole runner of a football department, we don't know yet, because he's not really had that sort of power of position before. But I'm sure it suits him to know that he doesn't really have to answer to dozens and dozens of people within a structure.
Sure, and also he talked very highly of the English Premier League, and I mean, he's entitled to give his opinion on what the European leagues are like. He's won trophies in 4 or 5 of them, but he's very, very fond of this country, isn't he? And says he might even stay for another 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, well, it's funny. There was a lot more stuff on that which I didn't use. I just didn't have space to use everything he said, and he has. The reason I left that out is that he said it many times at Chelsea and United, but he clearly feels that the Premier League is the place to be, and loves. I'm sure he doesn't love every aspect of the media coverage or every aspect of the refereeing or the fixture computer or whatever, but he feels that it is the place to manage, and it is the place to test himself week after week, season after season. And I think particularly now that there's Guardiola here, there's Klopp, there's Conte, all these great managers who have come from elsewhere. I think he loves the idea of sort of being in this arena with the best managers, as he would see it.
Sure. It's all really been a great season, but we're looking forward to it more. Oliver, thank you very much indeed. Oliver Kay there from The Times. How about this from Roger, who's tweeted in, United haven't played anybody yet. They couldn't have had 3 easier games to start a season if they'd handpicked them themselves. OK, and what about Spurs' home game against Burnley when they started... Burnley beat Chelsea in the opening game. Yeah, I know. And then Burnley quite a tough team to play at the moment. Then Burnley got beaten in the next game. And then Burnley go to Spurs, and Spurs stuttered to a draw with Burnley's equalised in the last minute. So there are no easy games in the Premier League. Well, don't you know that yet? You say Don't you know that yet? You say that. Let's talk to Tom, who's a Man United fan who wants to have a go at you. Tom, a very good morning to you.
Hi, Mike. How are you doing? Are you okay?
Yeah, very well indeed. What do you think of Porky's amazing love-in with Jose Mourinho?
Well, I just want to sort of touch on a few points initially about Jose's last year. So obviously, first and foremost, I do think that many sort of critics will say, well, he finished 6th last season. I do think that 8 weeks out, he really did just invest a lot of his time into that game with Ajax. And I think we can all agree it was a standard Jose Mourinho 2-0 victory. Very, 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 very by the book in terms of Jose's terms. I do think Jose has one last point to prove in terms of having longevity with the club, and hopefully Manchester United will be the club for that. And I'm, hearing Porky's words of praise for Jose, and it's very, very nice to hear that, a staunch Evertonian is lauding Manchester United manager so much. My question to you is, Porky, is what was your opinion on Jose 2 years ago when he was, having a tough time at Chelsea? Or is this just another Porky bandwagon? No, my opinion of that is that the people who went wrong were Chelsea, not Jose, OK? When you get a guy like Jose, so single-minded... It's not like you to blame management, Porky. Listen, mate, I have my views on management wherever I go. He used to be in management, but he was so bad at it that nobody's going to allow him anywhere near it ever again. Listen, management died the day they booted me out. Now, what I was going to say is that I thought that the Chelsea situation fell apart. Who's that guy at the window? I don't know, but he's got a P45 in his hand. I thought the situation fell apart because Jose was suddenly being reined in. What Oliver just told us was that the reason Jose likes working at Manchester United is that there are very few people between him
and his ability to work, and the guy's got to go to get the money to bring in big transfer deals, OK? He likes that. The problem with Chelsea is, and we know this for a fact because of the situation involving Mr Conte, is that, Mr Abramovich has his own personal advisor. She's a Russian lady who advises him on things. He has his own people inside the club.
Well, no, she runs the clubs, doesn't she? She runs the football side of the club.
Yeah, on behalf of Mr Abramovich, the owner, exactly.
Porky,
yeah,
would you have been saying this 2 years ago? Were you defending
I did say it
Jose?
2 years ago. I did say it 2 years ago.
I'll tell you what he did say, Tom, and I very rarely vouch for Porky in any matter at all, as you know. But he did say that Manchester United should have hired Mourinho straight away.
The minute.
When Sir Alex Ferguson left.
Exactly.
Because they wasted their time with David Moyes. But you see, the other interesting thing for me, and I've always said this, is I think as much as you can't tarnish Sir Alex Ferguson's legacy from what he won at Manchester United, he left the place in a pretty bad way.
It was a huge rebuilding process. Last year, the echoes of that and the Louis van Gaal passing sideways period was still there. And I think that's kind of really where he really showed his mettle as a manager, that he managed to get that team into the Champions League despite all the issues that we had.
Yeah,
so, no, credit to him. Also, Porky, I live in Sale. So whereabouts in Sale did you used to live? Own properties here.
Well, the Pelican pub on the main road.
I do. Yeah.
Opposite there's a road that goes down into a little housing estate, and it's down near a little river. And I lived down at the back there. It was the first house I ever bought, semi-detached house at the back there.
The Pelican pub, eh?
The Pelican
How
pub.
How many hours a day do you spend in there?
Quite a lot, I would say, because we used to work a 4-day week in those days, so you spend the other 3 days in the Pelican. But, no, great place to... I used to prefer actually going to Altrincham to those two pubs on opposite sides of the road on the bend,
It's not, sort of what's on guide to pubs in Sale, by the way.
Absolutely.
Tom, listen, thanks very much indeed for your call. This is talkSPORT. We are the two mics, and of course we are with Wicks as well. Wicks have lowered the price on Blue Circle general purpose cement. Get 25 kilograms for just $3.79 each when you buy 3 or more. We're going to take more of your calls in a moment. Coming up later on in the show, we're going to be talking to John Motson, of course, who announced his retirement yesterday after 50 years of commentating on the Beeb, which is absolutely amazing. Here's somebody called Red Mist. He says, Porky, I'll ask you, would you swap Ronald Koeman for Jose Mourinho? And then he says, answer that.
I'm answering that, and I've answered it already. I said Ronald Koeman, in my mind, is the only manager who wouldn't be swapped by their fans for Jose Mourinho because, of course, the Koeman revolution is underway.
Yeah, but they haven't won anything either. I mean, how is he different from Pochettino?
Excuse me, how many games has he been in charge of Everton of?
Well, 4. You tell me. You're the Everton fan.
4
games.
5.
Ronald Koeman.
Yes, coming up for 6 this week.
What, has he only been in charge since the end of last season?
No, he's been in charge the season before that.
That's what I mean.
But in his own...
What are you talking about?
In his own right...
How many games has he been in charge of Everton for?
Excuse me, in his own right, through his main transfer
he joined
window.
Over a year ago.
Excuse me.
What are you talking about?
In his main transfer window, right, as far as I'm concerned, the Koeman revolution only began this summer. No.
Well, you can rewrite as much history as you like.
Prior to that, he had to inherit somebody else's team.
He came 7th last year in the Premier League,
which is a very, very
well
admirable effort,
considering
what he inherited.
Miles away from 6th, by the way, in terms of points. Got into the Europa League, right? And is currently in the Europa League.
Playing Atalanta this week.
Yeah, great. You going?
No, I'm not.
Why not?
I can't get up there.
What do you mean you can't get up there?
Well, it's not this week, it's next week.
All right.
So it's the same night,
so
same day we're travelling off to New York City.
And how about this from Keith? He says, since Jose Mourinho has been sacked by his last 2 clubs, those teams have gone on to win 4 Champions Leagues and Mourinho not 1. Useless, says Keith.
Well, I mean, that is a twist of history, isn't it? That Real Madrid have won 3 Champions Leagues and... Who won the other one then? Let me see. Oh, I see. They're saying after he left Chelsea, they won the Champions League. Yeah, of course they did.
Exactly right.
Under a
Let's talk
temporary
to
manager.
Steve, who's an Everton fan, see if he agrees with you. Steve, very good morning to you.
Good morning, guys.
Yeah.
I've been listening to the show this morning, and I'm looking at, I'm listening about what people blowing smoke up Jose's rear end.
Yes.
What I'd like to see with Jose, I mean, he's been fortunate. Every club he's gone to, he's had an unlimited pot of money to spend.
What, like at Porto?
Well, no, he brought that team through a bad league at the time, Benfica. And don't forget, Porto, one of the top 3 teams in Portugal.
And they won the Premier League, and they won the Champions League.
I totally agree. A totally different league in the British League. We were talking about...
Yeah, but they won the Champions League. That's all of Europe, Steve. And he didn't have any funds.
What I'm trying to say is the way the Premier League is now, I would like to see Jose go into a team, and no disrespect to the team I'm going to name, like a Burnley, without a carrot, without a proverbial pot to whatever he wants to do. And I'd like to see him. That's the mark of a great manager, to bring a team through in the Premier League without a penny to spend.
But why would he be in that situation, Steve? Why would he do that? Because that is not Jose. That's for Sean Dyche, because Sean Dyche's a great manager, in my view, who is absolutely suited to the job he has to do at Burnley. But that's not what Jose does, if you see what I mean. So I think you're trying to live in a parallel universe here.
Well, let me ask you, Steve, the question that I asked Porky. Would you have him at Everton?
No.
Why not?
Because this guy thinks he's bigger than the club, and no one's bigger than any football club.
Well,
no, it's either his way or no way.
Yeah, but it's not being bigger than the club. It's being a great advantage to a great club. I mean, look, if Ronald Koeman wasn't our manager, I'd have Jose tomorrow.
My point is, I'd just like to see Jose go into a team to prove what a great manager he is. And he is a great manager. I'm not taking that away from him.
Yeah.
I'd love him to go into a team and prove, without a carrot to spend, that he can
Steve,
build.
didn't he to some extent?
I'd love to see him managing England.
Yeah, but didn't he to some extent do what you just asked for, Steve, at Chelsea? Because Chelsea were on the brink of becoming a great club until Jose arrived, and then he won back-to-back Premier League titles, whereas his predecessor, Mr. Ranieri, had not been able to get them out of the above the top three.
Yeah. Listen, Steve, thanks very much indeed for your call. Let's talk to Nick, who's a Spurs fan, just before we have to stop talking for a while. Nick, a very good morning to you.
Morning.
Yeah, what do you reckon,
hi, Nick?
Yeah, no, not for me at Spurs, unless we had no manager. I wouldn't take him over Pochettino any day of the week. And the reason I say that is, you mentioned Porto. His record there was phenomenal. He'd done very well there.
Yeah.
Although at that time, obviously, Porto were way beyond any other Portuguese team. But in the Champions League, they gave it their all when they won it.
They did.
These things can happen, as we saw with Leicester winning the Premier League. Sometimes a team puts a shift in and a bit of luck goes their way, and they can, smaller teams can win things.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, with Jose, and the reason I say I wouldn't have him over Poch is because I don't see, if he was there the last 3 years, same as Poch, I don't see that he'd have any better a chance as what Pochettino has had of winning us the title. And I don't think he wins us the title. The reason being what your last caller said, spot on. If Jose hasn't got the budget to bring in huge players on huge salaries, he's just as good a manager as Poch, as Pep, and all the rest of them.
But we don't know that, though, do we, Nick?
No,
you don't know that because, we don't, because he's never been at a club.
Hold on.
Hang on. No, you hold on for a second. He's never been at a club that didn't have any money, so we don't know the answer to that.
Manchester United, when he first took over, this great manager, Jose Mourinho, when he first took over, from Louis van Gaal, he added a world record Pogba, and he added a free transfer in Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who scored a bucket load. He had the same team. He didn't realise the qualities at that season of Mkhitaryan and left him out for most of the season. God only knows why.
But he had but his mission, Nick, was to get Manchester United into the Champions League, which he managed to do. His mission was to win some silverware with the League Cup, which he managed to do. So he had a good season last season. Pochettino once again won nothing.
And has never won anything.
I'm not disputing that, but okay, so you tell me this then, honest hand on heart, if you put Pochettino in at Manchester United, forget Spurs for a minute, in at Manchester United with the young players like the Shaws and the Rashfords and all the rest of it, and you gave Pochettino £200 million to spend in one window on any players of his choice, and you said to him, you can offer him any wages up to £300,000 a week. You're telling me that Pochettino wouldn't be able to win the league with that Manchester United?
I'm telling you it's a gamble.
It is a gamble because you don't know how he manages that because he's never been in that situation. Exactly. So you don't know that he'd be able to handle it.
True, but he came close with a Spurs team that's done on a budget.
Yeah, but
if Spurs gave him $200 million to add to that team we've got now and said, Levy turned around and said, offer any wages you want. You go and buy, if you want a £90 million player, a £90 million player.
But, Nick, you're making another assumption. You're making lots of assumptions here. We're talking about the facts, and the facts of the matter are Jose is currently the most successful manager in world football at a club.
And he is a winner, whether you like it or not. Yeah. Nick, we've got to go. Thank you very much indeed. We'll take more of your calls coming up. We're going to talk about West Ham. We're going to talk about Slaven Bilic, who's next in line if he goes. We're also going to talk to John Motson, retiring after 50 years of glorious work in the football business. And, of course, we're going to be discovering precisely why we found a duck that flies at 22,000 feet.
Flew over Everest.
This is talkSPORT. It's one of your favourite songs, isn't it?
Well, it's certainly one of the favourite songs of, my sort of fairly enduring lifetime, if you see what I mean. Because
your fairly enduring lifetime, or his. Jerry Rafferty.
Well, is Jerry Rafferty alive or
no?
dead?
He's not alive. You once killed off Mike Oldfield.
That's right.
By mistake, who is still alive.
It was actually Jerry Rafferty.
Thinking he was Jerry Rafferty, because I think you described him as dying in Ibiza.
Yeah, well, that's right, but he didn't. Anyway, listen, somebody who is sadly not with us anymore is the man who played that saxophone solo, which is probably the most famous saxophone solo in the history of rock music, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if it is, actually. Interesting you should say that.
Do you think there's a better one?
Well, I mean, only because I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan, right? And if you think of
the East Street Band.
The East Street Band, and Clarence Clemens, who was the sax player for the big black guy who was the sax player for... And he used to do some amazing stuff on, like, Jungle Land. But you may be right. I mean, they may not be as well known as this.
Exactly. I think as an individual sort of, a riff, I suppose, a saxophone riff, it was probably the most famous because it lifted the song at every junction, didn't it?
Anyway, Jerry Rafferty was also in Steelers Wheel, don't you?
I did know that. Yeah,
stuck in the middle with you.
Stuck in the middle with you.
Very much how I feel.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
That's right.
Yes, thank you.
Don't mention the beef.
Don't mention the beef. That's right. But anyway, listen. The reason I have brought that to your attention is the chap who played that was called Raphael Ravenscroft. Okay?
Really? That's not easy to say. That
it's not Raphael Ravenscroft. Now, Jerry Rafferty, to the day he died, sadly, and he was a great contributor, was earning, in addition to the fortune he made from other things, £80,000 a year in royalties just from people who played Baker Street. Okay. Old Raphael Ravenscroft got £27 for the solo performance as a session musician when Baker Street was performed. And sadly, Raphael Ravenscroft's no longer with us, but his will has just been published, and he left his widow a total of £1,000.
£1,000?
£1,000. That was all he had left when he died.
Oh, God. All right, well, listen, hang on to that thought for a moment. We've got Toby Gillies here with some breaking news on Andy Murray.
It is, yes, and obviously he's missing the US Open at the moment, and we did wonder with that hip injury whether this might be the end of his campaign. He's put this out on Facebook this morning. Just wanted to update you all on my injury and the rest of my season. Unfortunately, I won't be able to compete in the upcoming events in Beijing and Shanghai, and most likely the final two events to finish the season in Vienna and Paris due to my hip injury, which has been bothering me for the last few months. Having consulted with a number of leading hip specialists over the last week, along with my own team, we've decided this is the best decision for my long-term future. It's quite a lengthy statement, so I'll just pick out one last thing. He talks about how he'll start 2018 in Brisbane, as he often does in preparation for the Australian Open, but he also says that he's looking forward to playing in Glasgow later this year against Roger Federer. That's in a charity match that we knew he'd planned to play. So it doesn't seem 2017 is over, but his professional season is over.
Well, good news that he's thinking of coming back to the game anyway.
Well, absolutely.
Fears that he might not play again, right?
No, there were never those fears.
No, I think there were.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, there were.
No.
I mean, a hip injury when you're a tennis player at his age and he's been playing for as many years as he's been playing.
I agree.
I mean, it could be difficult. Here's a good suggestion for a famous sax riff. It's Careless Whisper from Wham.
Oh,
George Michael.
Yes, okay, yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty famous song too. I don't want you to sing it. Why do you have to sing it?
Careless Whisper.
That's not anything like it.
It is. It's like that.
No.
Anyway, just to finish
carry
on. So his widow Nicola will just receive £1,000. That's all his estate was worth. Okay.
So he didn't get any royalties from the actual song.
None at all.
Which I suppose is standard, isn't it? If you just go into a studio and record something.
He used to be a teacher at New York College. He used to be a teacher at York College in this country to supplement his income as a session musician. Okay.
Yes.
And he followed up his success with Baker Street by being invited to work with artists such as Pink Floyd, ABBA, and Marvin Gaye.
There you go.
So, there's something that's always amazed me. Didn't you meet a great session musician when you were over in New York?
I did, yeah. I was in the studios with Steve Lillywhite where they were doing the new U2 album.
Yeah,
and there's a guy there whose name is currently escaping me, who's played on every single U2 album that's ever been made, right? And he was a guy sort of in his late 50s. He'd also been on tour with the band, Bob Dylan's band.
Yeah.
He'd also played on Rumours by Fleetwood Mac.
Incredible.
He'd also played on Hotel California with the Eagles.
I know.
And he's this guy who just wanders from place to place.
And he's a session musician. He's played
really
on some of the most famous and successful LPs
and I've never heard of him.
And that's what I mean. Where does your luck divide? Where if he'd have been in a group like Led Zeppelin when he was about 22, he would now be multimillionaire, fame and all that.
Yeah.
Same as this guy, if he'd have got into, some band that, suddenly had a string of hits or something like that, and yet they become session musicians, and they are sort of, another day, another dollar.
It is remarkable.
Amazing.
Mark says, here's another sax riff that can possibly compete with Rafferty's. David Bowie's contribution on Lou Reed's Walk on the Wild Side.
Yeah, Walk on the Wild Side, yes.
So you might think of that one as well.
Yeah, I still think if anybody said to me, saxophone, one of these psychological things, day, night.
Word association.
And all that, yeah. And if somebody said saxophone,
word association,
that's the thing, yeah. And if somebody said sax to me, I would say Baker Street.
It's a family show.
Yeah.
I would say Clarence Clements, you see. But that's because I used to be a big Bruce Springsteen fan.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
But, it's a difficult one, that. How about this from Paul? He says, please can you say hello to Ella Stevens, first day at big school, St. Joseph's in Horwich. We never miss a podcast.
I think that's Horwich, actually.
Horwich?
No, Horwich.
It's Horwich, is it?
Yeah, it's Horwich. Yeah,
okay, where is that?
You don't pronounce Norwich as Norwich, do you?
I don't know. I don't very rarely say it, and neither do I pronounce Harwich as Harwich.
Yes, that's right.
But how do you... where is Horwich, then?
Horwich?
Yeah.
Horwich.
Where is it? You don't know, do you?
Well, I don't need to know.
So how do you know how to pronounce it if you don't know where it is?
Because the spelling of it is Horwich.
Yeah, but not everything is pronounced exactly the same way in the English language, as you know.
If you change the H to an N, it would be Norwich.
That's right.
So why would you call
there are plenty of
Horwich
examples.
Horwich?
Well,
no,
there are
no examples.
There are plenty of examples.
Give me one example.
Well, I can't think of one at the moment.
Of course you can't, because they don't exist.
There are plenty of examples of words which are pronounced differently, even though they are spelled similarly.
It's no wonder people call you low-face. Anyway, I want to add my congratulations.
How about though and through? How about though? Though, and through, Through, same ending, different pronunciation.
The word is structured differently.
No, it's not.
Anyway, I want to say my congratulations to Ella Stevens. First day at the big school, Ella, St. Joseph's in Horwich. You have a great day.
Or Horwich.
And have a great life.
Can somebody tell us where it is, please?
And by the way, a little Ella never misses a podcast.
Yeah, we've already said that.
Yeah, well, I've just said it again.
Okay, we're going to talk West Ham.
A dad's name's Paul.
We're going to talk West Ham very shortly, so if you're a West Ham fan, you need to keep listening, because we might be about to tell you who's going to be the next West Ham manager, even though there isn't a vacancy. This is talkSPORT.
Newcastle United here, and it's Mitrovic. He's gone around Joe Hart, and he's going to slide the ball into the back of the net. Easy as you like.
Of course I feel the pressure. We can talk that those games were away games. It's all true, but the fact and the reality is we have regained 0 points and we don't look good.
The lads performed so well at Southampton. What you're saying, there's no positives from that game. Of course, the players run through brick walls for the badge, for the club, for the fans, for the manager, for each other in that game. So if they did that and got beaten the next 4 games, you're saying he's going to get the sack. Do me a favour.
Well, some West Ham fans are pretty certain that Slaven Bilic is going to get the sack. I mean, so much so, in fact, that we're going to be talking about who might be being lined up by West Ham as the next manager.
We certainly are. You're absolutely right. Now, of course, you are listening to the Two Mics. We are on talkSPORT. We are with Wicks. Let me please just remind you, Wicks have lowered the price on Blue Circle general purpose cement. Get 25 kilograms for just £3.79 each when you buy 3 or more. And talking about cement, by the way, you wonder whether Slaven Bilic is going to be given the concrete boot.
Yeah, the old concrete boots. Funnily enough, just before we head over to New York, by the way, there's a story that broke in the New York Times earlier on this morning about some guy they found floating. They used to call him a floater over in the NYPD.
Gently floating down the East River.
A guy that had been tied to a breeze block. And dumped into the river just by the Brooklyn Bridge. It turns out he's associated with organised crime, would you believe?
How strange.
So,
do you know what
he was said to have been, shall we say, attacked with a blunt instrument, mafia style.
Yes, that's right, yeah. I was quite surprised when I read that, because I didn't think a breeze block was heavy enough to drag a mafioso body down to the bottom of the East River.
Yeah.
I thought it was a bit too lightweight. Well, if I was going to throw somebody in the East River and hope they never surfaced...
Not that we would encourage that sort of thing, obviously.
Not that we would, no. And hope that they never surfaced again. I would I'd use something a bit heavier than a breeze block.
Yeah, I think you might have to. But I think at a certain point they come back up. I think that's the point.
Yeah, breeze blocks are sort of imitation bricks and have lots of holes in them.
Well, yeah, they're
porous.
sort of lightweight type stones, aren't they?
Yeah.
But anyway, enough of mafia torture techniques and death, because although there is a sort of stench of death over West Ham at the moment, isn't there? Yeah. I mean, we're hearing as well that Thomas Tuchel is a guy that's certainly being looked at. A lot of fans are exhibiting a bit of interest in Thomas Tuchel, who was, of course, the Borussia Dortmund manager until the end of last season. He's currently out of a job.
I think he then fell out, didn't he, with the people who were in charge of the buying of players? And all
he
that
fell
kind
out
of
with
stuff.
the scouting organisation. And the owners of the
bosses.
And the owners. Yeah, it's never a good idea that. Yeah. And the owners of the club decided to side with the scout because the scout is, amongst other things, one of the guys that brought in a lot of their younger players that they sell on for a huge amount of money, including Dembele, who they just made about 120 million on or something like that.
That's right,
But I want to hear from you, please, the West Ham fans, 08717 22 33 44, because West Ham are sitting, propping up, unfortunately, the Premier League table right now.
Yeah.
They've played 3 games, as everybody has. They've got no points, they've got no wins, they've got no draws, they've got 3 losses, and their goal difference is -8.
And isn't their next game away as well? Because
I think so.
They haven't yet put the London Stadium back together, have they, after the Athletics?
Yes, I think that's right. There was a problem with the Southampton game, wasn't there? They would have to switch it around and play it, I think, at Southampton. But, I mean, coming up, I guess this weekend is going to be... I mean, it's week 4, isn't it? So it's going to be a fascinating sort of... It's going to be fascinating to see how it all goes.
Also, you get the feeling
They're playing on Monday night at home, I think, against Huddersfield.
That's right. They're playing on Monday, aren't they? Because the stadium will be fixed by then. Huddersfield are the visitors, and I have to say...
Huddersfield are in great form.
Huddersfield are in great form. Huddersfield have won 2 and drawn 1. They've got 7 points out of 9 so far.
Yeah.
And if I was a betting man, I'd say Huddersfield are going to win that game.
Yeah, I would not be averse to backing Huddersfield in that scenario.
Because West Ham have had to play the first 3 away because of the stadium situation, which we've just outlined.
Yes.
And now they've got to adjust to playing at home for the first time this season, 3 weeks after everybody else.
Yeah. A lot of people have been in touch, by the way, to say 2 things. One, Horwich is near Bolton.
That's right.
In Lancashire.
So it's Horwich.
So it is indeed pronounced Horwich. A lot of people saying, sad to have to say so, Porky's actually right.
Thank you. Horwich is near Chorley in Lancashire.
Near Chorley, exactly. Apparently it's the home of Bolton Wanderers. You should have known that, shouldn't you?
Bolton Wanderers. Yeah, Horwich.
Should you not have known that?
Oh, Burnden Park.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Tom says this, who would take the West Ham job? All the owners try to get in are loan players. You can't build a team with loan players. Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point, but let's take some calls. 08717 22 3344. Steve is a West Ham fan. Yeah. Steve, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, gentlemen. Nice to hear you on at a decent time of the day.
Thank you very much. Very kind.
By the way, a good saxophone music. How about Hazel O'Connor, will you?
Hazel O'Connor, will you? We've had that as a nomination as well.
Somebody said that's the one that Bob Holness is meant to have played, right?
Yeah. You remember Bob Holness, the quiz host, but it's an urban myth. He didn't. Bob Holness didn't play it.
But I don't think. I mean, Hazel O'Connor, as much as she was a bit of an iconic singer in this
for about 3 years,
late 70s, early 80s, I don't think she was as well known as Baker Street. Is it?
No way. But anyway, listen. What about the West Ham situation, Steve?
Well, I think Slaven Bilic will go. It's a shame, but it's excuse after excuse. And I think the perfect fit, and this will be controversial, is Glenn Hoddle. Because Glenn Hoddle's still the best English manager we've had, and he left for non-footballing reasons.
I wouldn't object to that, but do we know whether Glenn Hoddle wants to get back into club management, or is this your hope?
This is my hope. I just don't think he left Wolves, and no one's been successful there. I just don't think he has been offered jobs. I just don't think the club that have offered him a job has suited him. I could see him at West Ham. I could see him at the Olympic Stadium with his knowledge, his contacts. He'll command immediate respect. And I think that's something that Slaven Bilic might not have. I think almost to the players he's too much of a mate rather than a manager.
Yeah. But, I mean, in the first season, Bilic was something of a hero, wasn't he? And then he did that amazing job as a pundit during the Euros. He was terrific. I mean, he was really a great pundit. So I don't think he'll have any trouble getting a job doing that. But he's really gone from hero to zero at West Ham, hasn't he, Steve?
Well, I think there's a hole in his CV, and that's when things are going right, he's brilliant. But when things are going wrong, he has a problem motivating players. I think that's a big problem.
Do you know what I think is a big problem at your club, Steve, is the Andy Carroll situation. Because, Andy Carroll was signed as an iconic player, he's big, huge guys like Duncan Ferguson was to Everton fans, he's statuesque and all that kind of stuff. And then, the terrible injuries that the poor lad suffered since he's been there have really caused a dilemma to the club as to whether to hold on to him, whether to get rid of him, and things like that show that really it's not all going right behind the scenes at West Ham.
No, it's not, unfortunately. He's not an affordable luxury, but he's one they can't afford to get rid of. And in a way, Slaven Bilic is a bit like him. when he's there, he's brilliant. But when he's not performing, it's always disgraceful. Unfortunately, when you're a manager, you have to go.
And what do you think about this talk? Because I worry about Glenn Hoddle's kind of the perception of Glenn Hoddle more than the reality, Steve, that people see him as an old-fashioned manager who's not really ready for what is now the Premier League and the massive sort of media interest in it. Because he's liable to come out and say something daft again, isn't he?
Well, I think he's become wiser, hasn't he? And he's never left football. He's still coaching and he's still a pundit. Yeah. So I don't think that gap will affect him. No, I think he deserves another chance. I think someone with that football knowledge deserves another chance, and I'd like to see him get one.
Yeah, Steve, do you think...
I know he played for Spurs.
Yeah.
It's not what he was, it's what he become. I mean, Billy Bonds played for Charlton. It's not what he was, it's what he became.
Yeah, sure.
If you put it just like that, Steve, then I think he's a perfect fit.
Do you think West Ham United showed enough ambition in the transfer window?
I think they did. I think they might have been over-ambitious.
Really? In what respect?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, some of the players they went for are quite clearly for the Champions League.
Yeah, but what about the ones they signed? That's what I'm saying. What about ones they eventually signed?
Joe Hart, I wasn't too sure about.
That's what I mean. You know, this is. I don't.
Chicharito. Chicharito.
Well, fine, great.
He was good.
Yeah, great young lad. But I mean, it hasn't helped them put aside 3 defeats in the first 3 games.
That's very true, Steve. Listen, we've got to leave it there. Thanks very much for calling. How about this from somebody calling themselves Porky's housekeeper?
Oh yes.
After a poor start, finally some good news from West Ham fans. Porky has tipped Huddersfield to beat them.
Yes. Well, you know, I'm sorry, but I mean that's the way it looks to me.
And how about this from Ryan, who says Slaven's time is up, but I don't trust the Davids to get the correct replacement. They want Mancini, and we'll end up with the Wally McLaren. Steve.
Who's that?
Steve
Who will
McLaren.
end up with Steve?
West Ham. What do you mean,
West
who?
Ham,
What are you talking about?
No, I'm sorry.
You're feeling all right?
I can't believe that
you had one of those walkabout moments.
No. I can't believe that anybody could seriously expect a Premier League club now to give Steve McLaren.
Well,
you know, I manage in Holland and like you say in England. Why would anybody in the Premier League give him another job?
Start talking like a cockney.
Yeah.
Come down to West Ham. Do you know what I mean?
That's
talk sport.
What about some eel pie?
This is talkSPORT. We are the two mics. Porky Vision coming up a little bit later on. Of course, we'll be doing the Porky quiz later in the week. We'll be telling you perhaps what we're going to be doing that on. A couple more suggestions for the saxophone solo scenario. How about Smooth Operator from Sade?
Tis a smooth operator.
That's quite a famous sax. Yeah, all right. Please don't sing in that manner.
Okay.
Here's one from Duncan, who says, what about the sax solo on Al Stewart's Year of the Cat?
Well, that was
definitely in the same league.
That
is a pretty good saxophone solo.
Well, it might be, but it's such a hopeless record. Year of the Cat.
You don't like the Year of the Cat?
Well, the problem is, I tell you what, when Al Stewart was trying to make the big breakthrough, there was unfortunately, or for him, but fortunately for the rest of us, another guy around called Rod Stewart.
Yes.
And Al Stewart and Rod Stewart, I mean, started off on the same sort of level, you know, sort of people who were battling to get into the music business. And I saw Al Stewart once at Newcastle Polytechnic.
Did you?
Yeah, when I was working on the Evening Chronicle in Newcastle, I was also a rock reviewer. You know?
Right. I remember you telling me you reviewed. Was it Bay City Rollers when you did that? And you got all the death threats.
Well, Bay City Rollers, I reviewed them at the Civic Hall in Newcastle.
Yeah, right. But did you not get a load of death threats?
Oh, yeah. I got little girls of 13 and 14 coming to the office delivering letters threatening to kill me and all that kind of stuff, you know. And I also did the guy, you know, the Streets of London, Ralph McTell.
Ralph McTell, yeah.
But I was so drunk when I interviewed him after the show that I forgot what he told me.
Right.
So,
did you actually have a sort of music column then or something?
Well, I just did reviews because you got paid an extra £5, you know, if you went and did a
So it wasn't
review.
For the love of the music?
No. It was because you got free beer and you got paid £5.
You're staggering, aren't you? It's absolutely staggering.
But so I had to go and review Al Stewart, right, at Newcastle Polytechnic.
Right.
And I was astonished to see this bloke sitting on a high stool with an acoustic guitar.
Was he wearing a caftan?
No, he wasn't wearing a caftan, no. But he had a load of young ladies, like, sitting gooey-eyed gazes at him up on the high stool.
Oh, yeah.
They all had caftans on, sitting around on the stage, you know.
This was the actual stage?
Yeah. And so he played The Year of the Cat as his last song. But before that, it was so much rubbish.
Yeah. The album's actually quite a good album.
Oh, utter rubbish. And there was one particular song, which apparently is his party piece, where he plays it extremely fast on an acoustic guitar, and the words trip out his mouth, like words into a paper cup, as John Lennon might have said.
Oh, yeah.
And then at the end, everybody gets up and, this man's a genius.
Yeah.
No, he lasts about 90 seconds, but it's a very rapid-fire sort of dirge,
Really?
Yeah, he was useless, I thought.
So, I mean, did you see anyone that you actually gave a good review to?
Did I see anyone go? Yeah, Mungo Jerry.
Mungo Jerry.
Yeah, believe it or not.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just checking to see if he's still alive.
And ever since, do you remember that Ray Dorsey, who was the lead singer of Mungo Jerry, came in here once and told us we were his favourite radio show?
I remember that. I do remember
amazing,
that.
yeah.
Now, we're going to take some more West Ham calls in a moment. Adam says this, Thomas Tuchel is perfect for us. West Ham do have a great squad on paper, but we need someone who gets the best out of them.
Really?
Other people are suggesting if he fell out with Dortmund, he's got no chance of getting on with the owners at West Ham.
Yeah.
But let's talk to Scott,
Yes.
who's a West Ham fan. Scott, very good morning to you.
Morning, boys. I'm really pleased you're on this week. Get a little break from old terrific Jim.
Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
Just listening to you talking about Saxy, I've just about kept awake, but I want to get back onto the West Ham situation. Can I talk about Bilic first?
Yeah, go on.
Right, now, this is a bloke. Now, there's a lot of arguing going on West Ham's Twitter account at the moment, saying, they want him out, I've been a bit of a sticker up for him because, you can't be a manager that stops England getting through their last major tournament they didn't get to with Croatia, and then go to Liverpool for the first time in 50-odd years, go to Man United and draw, go to Arsenal and win, go to Man City and win. You can't tell me that bloke doesn't know what he's doing tactically. I just think that man is completely brainwashed now to the point by them owners. And this is the thing you haven't mentioned yet. The problem we got at West Ham is not the manager, even though he might have to go because of them. The problem is the owners. They have lied to us as fans for so long that now they're actually all about. They've started up campaigns on the Twitter accounts to raise money, put banners up at the Huddersfield game. So there's going to be a lot of ill feeling.
A lot of ill feeling.
You've got to justify this word lie.
Specifically,
Right,
Scott,
now,
I mean, what have they lied about?
The first thing for me was the ground. Now, they talked us into going to this ground. None of us really wanted to go, the hardcore, and we were promised that we were going to go in there. The ground was it was all agreed that the stands were going to come in from the sides. It's going to be the most high-tech stadium in the world. It was going to be on the pitch. We're going to have this, we're going to have that. The ground is basically an athletic stadium still. And don't get me wrong, depending where you sit, you might get it. But it is not. I don't enjoy going there.
What happened to the retractable seats plan? Because I thought that was going to happen.
That was the main thing that I was really looking forward to.
Yeah.
I thought it would make it a brilliant stadium.
Right.
So, and the other thing is they've lied about transfer policies, about the money they was going to spend. They've lied about literally to the fans telling them we're going to buy, this massive signing. They're just and what they do, they come out with hot air. Why do they talk about signing players before they've got them? Go and get someone. The Cavalier one, it went on for about a month. If you want him, go and pay the 40 mil. Just go and get him. Don't rub it on and start blaming Bilic for everything, saying he got off of players. It's a load of rubbish. I don't even think Bilic is getting half the players over there, to be fair. All the ones last year were brought in were awful.
I mean, they have said, have they not, they've still got full confidence in Bilic, and they said, I think, a couple of weeks ago, that he got everything he wanted in the transfer window. Is that not true?
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, Joe Hart is not even the best goalkeeper at West Ham. I don't know how he's in the England team at the moment. I couldn't believe when we brought him in. He's been so poor for Man City the last 2 or 3 years. Yeah. He's so on the way down.
Well, he was terrible against Slovakia.
Yeah, you seem to have a real downer on the club here, Scott. You really do.
No, I'm a real long lost. I'm a real, I'm over there Monday, and I'm a real West Ham in the blood. But, really, at the moment, I've never felt so low. I mean.
Well, we've been to the ground and we found the ground quite impressive, I have to say.
Well, I think it also depends where you are. We had a West Ham fan on the other day, Scott, who said because he's got a season ticket sort of down on the lower tier, he actually quite likes it. But I think it's for people who are a bit higher up who don't like it as much.
I wouldn't like to be up there. I mean, you need there's no atmosphere in there really. It's not a great place. The stewarding's not run by West Ham people. It's just that's another story. But the way to go forward here is if they're going to get rid of him, don't keep on about it. Do it because they keep running him down in the press, which is the man must be on the floor. And we've got Lanzini back, and there's a couple of others back reading it. We won't be down there. We'll beat Huddersfield. I don't know where you're getting that from, Polky. I mean, you're talking in middles there, but
he's talking about you beating a team which is up in the top sort of 6 of the league, and you're at the bottom.
They'll go down though, Huddersfield. They won't be there after Christmas, will they? At the end of the day, we've got Lanzini back, mate. He's going to be the best player in that Premiership by the end of the season.
Well, anyway, listen, Scott. You seem to have all the solutions to all the problems.
All the answers. It's great.
It's not Slaven Bilic's fault. It's the fault of the owners. The men who rescued the club and put you into a new ground.
I don't know what you're making fun of Scott for.
I'm not, and they've put 50 or 60 million quid of their own money into the club. It's all their fault.
And they're going to slaughter Huddersfield, who are currently about 18 places above them.
Exactly.
Let's talk to Steve. Hello, Steve.
Morning, guys, or afternoon.
Yes.
Before we go any further, saxophone, Johnny and the Hurricanes, Rocking Goose. There you go.
Now, that one I don't know. We might have to line that one up for after the news. Johnny and the Hurricanes. Tell us what you think, Steve.
Well, I'm the other guy that's just been on virtually said what I want to say. The board should go. It's not Bilic. The man knows what he's doing. He's proved it by being a great pundit and a very, very good manager in some of the games that we played last year. But we never put a bid in for Carvalho. The chairman of Sporting Lisbon come out and said, we've never received a bid from them. They're lying. Okay? Karen Brady calls us customers. We're not fans. We are customers. We didn't want to go to that ground. We could have built a purpose-built 55,000-seater stadium that was like the old Upton Park, and it would have been awesome.
Where would you have built this?
But that would have been a lot more expensive, Steve, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but that's what this is all about. This is all about money. We've spent all this money, supposedly on players this year. We've actually spent £4 million because we got £20-odd million back for the ones that we sold.
Where would this new stadium have been, Steve? Steve, this new stadium.
It would have been the new stadium could have been on the old site years ago.
Right.
What used to be Mattison's and Mayhem Baker's, right by West Ham Station.
Right.
And anybody that knows the area knows that would have been a great place to have a football stadium.
Right. Okay.
Now,
so you're saying keep it in the locality, all the same historical connections and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to train astronauts at the London Stadium because it's the only place in London with no atmosphere.
Dear me, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? A bit harsh. I can see you're a little upset here, Steve.
Well, there's a lot of unhappiness down at West Ham, isn't there, Steve?
No, I've not been to I will refuse. I don't care who we're playing. We could play Barcelona every week. I would not give my money across the counter at Upton Bar at the London Stadium because I've been a season ticket holder for nearly 40 years. Right?
So what?
And
You haven't? So have you not been then? You've never been there?
No, won't go. I went there during the Olympics, and it was muted that we was going to take the stadium over then. And I thought, this is not a football stadium. No, you say you've had a good seat. That's because you're in the
No. We didn't say we had a good seat. We spoke to a West Ham fan the other day on the air who said that he had a great seat and he loved the stadium, but he said it depends where you're sitting.
Yeah, you go behind the goal. I went all the way round that during the Olympics, and there's not a lot of places where you get a good view. Even down the side, you're not going to get a good view.
Well,
the whole move was done money for the board. Nobody else. They didn't consult anybody. I used to write for one of the fanzines, and we asked all our readers if they would like to say, did they vote to go to the new stadium? And I guarantee you, 95% of the people said no. We don't want to go.
Yeah,
they did.
But
not
in the end, Steve. But in the end, it's your football.
Have to have a new
it's your football club, and in the end, you'll want to watch them playing, won't you? In the end, you'll have to just relinquish your attitude and go and see them.
I'll go to the away games. I will never, ever set foot in the London Stadium.
Yeah,
ever.
well, I'm thinking you're cutting off your nose to spite your face, mate, because you can't go with your mates.
Steve,
and
thanks very much
the
indeed.
camaraderie of a Saturday out at the football, following the team you followed for, God knows, probably all your life, 40 years a season ticket holder. Sad.
It is sad, really.
Yeah.
Now, we're getting quite a few more suggestions of sax solos. One from Jamie. How about Paul Simon's sax on You Can Call Me Al? Remember that song?
Yes.
You don't have to sing it, of course. Also, a couple of other people suggesting True by Spandau Ballet. That's from Matt. You don't have to sing every single song that I ever mention.
Yeah, listen, you can put as many suggestions as you like into the melting pot, but the most famous one of all time has to be Baker Street. I mean, it just is.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I know that some of you might say, well, musically, music appreciation, this is technically better, but it won't. It won't.
Really you know what it depends on, really, I suppose, is whether it's the most famous one around the world, because it might be that the Jerry Rafferty Baker Street song is incredibly well known in this country, but not so much everywhere else.
Yeah, but it was based on a Baker Street in America anyway.
I know that.
It was an American-based song.
I know that.
It wasn't an English-based song.
I know that.
It's not Baker Street up where the tube station is here, next to the London
Holmes,
Palladium.
What?
Well,
it's not anywhere near the London Palladium.
What is
you talking about?
What's the big place on Euston Road?
Regent's Park.
No. There's a big,
Madame Tussauds.
Madame Tussauds, that's right. But that used to be a theatre. Used to be a theatre.
Two what?
What?
Madam what?
Madam Tussauds.
You said Tussauds.
Tussauds. Madam Tussauds.
Steptoe asked this.
She was French, you know.
Did Porky ever have a session with Hoddle's mate Eileen Jury whilst at the FA? And there's a picture of her.
Not while I was at the FA, no, but I did go to see her a couple of years later.
Did you?
Yes.
I know Ray Parler tells a very funny story about her.
Well, he does, yeah.
When she put her hands on the back of his head and he asked her for a short back and sides.
And he didn't play for England again for 18 months while Glenn Hoddle was still the manager.
I don't think you want Glenn Hoddle at your club. This is Talk Sport. See, I think that might be a bit better known than Jerry Rafferty.
Well, to a certain genre. Now, what would the timeline be on that? So, did Jerry Rafferty come first?
Yeah, that was like sort of late 70s.
Baker Street, late 70s.
Zach, funnily enough, has just sent this tweet. Has anyone mentioned Careless Whisper?
Yeah.
As if by magic.
Yeah.
What about One Step Beyond? Says Betty.
Who did that?
Madness.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you not know that one?
Oh, no, I do know that one.
I mean, talk about being... Have you got some kind of trapped syndrome from the 70s?
No. Hang on. Madness, what's it called again?
One Step Beyond.
Was that our house in the middle of our street?
No, that was our house.
Our house.
No, that's our house.
In the middle of our street. Which is the one you're talking about?
One Step Beyond is I'll play it to you later.
No,
it's the one with
step,
a saxophone solo. It starts with a saxophone solo.
I know which one it is. Yeah. Oh, that's one. That's the one I know. Yeah, I recognise that. That was a very good rendition. Well
Thank
done.
you. Now, we are the two mics. We're on TalkSport. We are with Wix. Wix have lowered the price on Blue Circle general purpose cement. Get 25 kilograms for just $3.79 each when you buy 3 or more.
That's
what do you make of that?
Excellent. Yeah,
now,
good.
Patrick has tweeted us. He says, I've just made an appointment with the doctors to get my head looked at as I'm actually agreeing with the plank.
Good. What's that on?
And I think he's agreeing with you on the Baker Street front.
Oh, I see. Yeah, well, he should do because, as I say, it's very, very famous indeed.
And now, here's one from somebody who's complaining about our traffic reporting, but he doesn't give a name. Honestly, he says, your traffic reporting is terrible. No significant problems on the motorways. I've been sat on the M25 for 2.5 hours going nowhere.
Yeah, right. Well, going nowhere fast, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Okay, well, yeah.
We'll see if we can get them to find out what's going on. But when you tell us where you are, that would be a help, and then we can tell everybody else.
And then we'll get on to the TalkSport head of...
Traffic
report.
Who is the head of traffic?
Who's the head of traffic round here?
I bet we've got one, though. We will have a head of traffic.
We've got a head of chairs, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah,
although I think he's just resigned from that.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what can I tell you? I want to tell you this. Did you know that there is a Oktoberfest coming to London?
Is there? Tell me it's coming in October, I suppose.
Oktoberfest,
Is it coming in? Why are you saying it in a stupid voice?
Well, because it says, for the first time, coming to London, genuine German Oktoberfest, okay? And it's going to be at the Greenwich... No, it's going to be at the Greenwich Peninsula.
Oh, that's quite far from me.
Exactly.
That's the O2.
That's what I thought I'd tell you, Greenwich Peninsula. It is from the 5th to the 22nd of October, okay? But what amazed me...
After what happened to you after you drank that German beer in the hospital club the other day, I'm not sure it was very wise for you to go anywhere near it.
No, but here, listen, this is what amazed me. And there's a picture of 3 very attractive young ladies with the Steins.
There's a name for them, isn't there?
Stein.
No, not the Stein. I mean, isn't there a name for the barmaids that carry all the Stein? They carry like 10 Steins.
I think they're called Waitresses.
No. There's a special name for them, I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Have you never been to one of these beer kellers in Germany?
No, but I've been to the Belgian Beer Festival. I never went to the Oktoberschwan in Munich, but I went to the Belgian one.
Belgian? Well, that's not Oktoberfest, is it?
No, it's in Ostend. It's the same time.
What did you go there for?
To the beer festival,
Why?
the Belgian Beer Festival.
But why, though?
Well, because you got a very cheap fare from somewhere in this country to Ostend, and I couldn't afford to go on to Munich.
Was this when you were a younger man?
When I was a trainee reporter on the Chester Chronicle, you know.
So that was your big sort of weekend away?
It was, actually.
Let's just go drink a load of beer somewhere else.
The Belgian Beer Festival, yeah.
By the way, you know, we talked about Chester and Solihull.
Yes.
You see, they lost last night. Chester
they
lost
did,
2-0.
unfortunately. Yeah, I know.
So the Solihull Ramblers.
That's right, and then they got a draw down at Torquay. But anyway, let me just finish telling you here. So this advert's been placed presumably by the Oktoberfest people, right? And what they say is, get your tickets now. But it says what you'll get is the tent for 3,000 people.
The tent? That's a big tent, that.
Yeah, it is.
Is it actually at the O2 then, or was it outside?
It just says Greenwich Peninsula, London.
It must be outside, mustn't it?
Must be outside. Well, it'd be in their big tent, wouldn't it? They've got a tent for 3,000
but there's a big car park there.
Putting up a big tent, And it also says the fun fair and beer garden, live music, which is great, And then
fun fair.
Yeah, and then there's a picture. What sort of meat do they eat in Germany?
There's a lot of sausage.
Or pork,
a lot of pork, yeah.
See the meat there?
Wiener Schnitzel.
Wiener Schnitzel, so it says also German premium beer and food. But then...
the food is good, actually, in Germany.
So they've got a picture of the tent, they've got a picture of the fun fair and beer garden, and they've got a picture of the food.
Yes.
But then they've got a picture of...
the Fraulines, that's what I was thinking.
They're really attractive girls. And you know what it says?
What does it say?
Come and see our 40 German waitresses.
40 German waitresses. Are you slightly offended by that?
Well, I think that's rather sexist, isn't it?
Well, it is a bit, but it's not a particularly sexist picture of them. It's just a picture. I mean, they've been careful not to make them look as if they're kind of, buxom or whatever it is, And it's quite. In fact, there's a bloke in the picture with the 40 German waitresses being served a stein of beer.
A stein, that's right.
So I wonder. Get your tickets now. Erdinger Oktoberfest.
Well, hang on, what are you doing? Giving them an advert?
Hey, is that the name of the beer?
I don't know. I don't know. But I just thought it was odd.
Well, maybe we should go.
The Oktoberfest is coming to London, and it is also coming with the 40
Do you know?
German
I once went to
waitresses.
Frankfurt, right, and I found this lovely part of the old town, which I didn't know existed. For the first 2 days I was there, I didn't know there was an old town.
It's a huge
because it's very modern.
There's a huge hotel right on the edge of the Frankfurt airport.
Yes.
One of the biggest hotels in the world.
I stayed in it.
I think
Frankfurter am Mainz. I stayed in it. But I stayed in another hotel in the middle of town, which was in the kind of financial district. Right? But I then realised there's a really nice part of town, the old town, and I found this place, and you go in, and it's all bench seating, and you sit down, and they basically just give you sauerkraut and hot dogs, German sausage. And then there's a big tray up on the counter of Apfelwein.
What's that?
It's basically apple wine.
Oh, Apfelwein.
Apfelwein. It's easy to work out.
Yes, that's right.
And you just go and take as many as you like, right? And at the end...
Well, they're free.
Well, no, they're not free, but at the end you're supposed to tell how many you had.
Oh, OK.
And you just pay for them, right? Well, but I had so many I couldn't remember how many I'd had.
I was about to say, isn't that the most dangerous thing in the world, to ask a drunk how many drinks he's had?
Well, I'm sure you're not calling me that, but...
you will have been intoxicated.
I was, but it was a great place, because you went and you just talked to whoever was sitting next to you, and it became a sort of a communal event.
I can't stand that.
You would hate it.
I would, yeah.
But it was great.
They have that at East Croydon.
Anyway, I paid for about 10.
About 10, you paid for 10, yeah. They have that at East Croydon railway station, where there's
an Apfelwein stand?
Well, there's a place next door to East Croydon railway station. I know this.
You can't go on within a store. Look at the time.
Yeah, but you remember all that jewellery serves had to do? Lunchtime, there's nowhere to go except to this communal benches and, get your hot dog. I couldn't stand it. I stayed away.
Shocking. We'll talk about that some more. And Porky Vision coming up. This is talkSPORT.
One step beyond.
Now, you must remember that.
Of course I do, yeah.
No, that's not a bad saxophone solo.
It's very good, but do you know what? It is not as distinctly a saxophone sound as Baker Street, because Baker Street was in isolation.
It's an alto sax.
Well, what I'm saying is Baker Street, the saxophone rendition was absolutely in isolation, you know what I mean? That's all you could hear.
Yeah.
That is a saxophone with a lot of other instruments around it, like bazooka whistles and all that kind of stuff.
Bazooka whistles?
Yeah, that's what they call them, don't they? Don't they?
Bazooka whistles?
Yeah.
Kazoos, you thinking of?
Kazoo whistles.
Kazoo. No, it's a kazoo. It's not a kazoo whistle.
Okay, it's a kazoo, isn't it?
It's a kazoo.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but it's surrounded by a kazoo and all that kind of stuff. And by the way,
what about Lady in Red by Chris de Burgh, says Sarah?
Lady in Red.
Has that got you don't have to sing every single suggested song.
Chris de Burgh's daughter was Miss World, wasn't she?
Was she?
Yes, she
I've
was,
no idea.
Yeah.
But is there a sax solo in that?
I can't remember one in it. Do you know a sax solo I did witness once, believe it or not? Somebody's reminded me in a tweet here. Thank you very much. I'm not sure who it was.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton, in fact, played
well, he certainly was famous for playing the saxophone.
And I tell you what happened. It was a good story. He played the saxophone at one of the inaugural balls, okay? And I went to an inaugural ball, but it wasn't the one where he played the saxophone.
Right.
Okay, but I mean, they go to about a dozen
You're
inaugural
talking about
balls.
when they become the winners of the election.
When they win the election,
Yeah.
and then the inauguration is in January when it's freezing cold on Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
It gets down to about like -20. And then that night they have all the inaugural balls, and everybody thinks, "Oh, I've been invited to the president's inaugural ball." They have about 20,
right?
And they just have to keep going around Washington from one ball to another to keep all the lobbyists happy, you know.
Yes.
But so
because they can't get them all into one do, basically.
Of course not. No. So he played the saxophone at one of them, but then what happened was he had this sort of wayward half brother called Roger, wasn't he?
Right.
Wasn't he?
Who?
Bill Clinton's wayward half-brother called Roger.
That's right.
I think
Roger Clinton.
Roger Clinton, that half-brother. And what Roger did was he went off to
Didn't he end up in prison?
Well, he ended up in prison for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
I think one of them was to do with nefarious substances. But on another occasion, he swanned into some recording studio's executive office and said, "Hi, my name's Roger Clinton, I've got a great deal for you." What was it? And then he wanted to sign a deal for him and Bill, who was then the President of the United States of America, to play saxophone double on some record that was going to release. And some...
Oh, yeah, I vaguely remember this.
Yeah, some naive record executive at some record company said, "This is the greatest, signing of my life,
Right. The next new Elvis.
The next new Elvis is going to be, the President of the United States, Bill Clinton, on sax, and all this kind of stuff."
Unbelievable.
It was rubbish. He wasn't even in touch with Bill Clinton.
I know, rubbish. Now, Glyn has tweeted in, to say that Chester have sacked their manager.
Oh, dear.
Now, I've got
John
a statement.
McCarthy,
John McCarthy. There's a statement on what looks like Chester FC's website, but I can't find the story anywhere else, so I'm not sure if it's true. The Chester Chronicle are not reporting it.
Are they not?
But the statement that I've got here is Chester Football Club can today announce they've terminated the contract of manager John McCarthy with immediate effect.
Yes.
They say that he was a thoroughly decent man who could not have worked harder to try and deliver success and could not have shown more commitment to the community and the club.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's... I presume that Glyn is a trusted source of ours. So
is he? Yeah.
I'm sure he hasn't got that wrong. But so far, nobody else is reporting it.
Well,
a bit
Chester
weird.
are below the relegation line in the National Conference, I'm afraid.
Yes. Well, they of course, and they lost, as I said, to Solihull last night.
So, they got a last-minute equaliser against Torquay at the weekend. I noticed that, and then had to drive all the way back up the M5 and the M6 to Chester, and then they've had to go back down the M6 to Birmingham, played Solihull last night, got turned over.
You give out the worst directions of all time.
Well, how would you get back from Torquay?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
No, you don't go on and on and on about how to get from Torquay to Chester via the
just
M5 and then the M6 and then you go through the
A41.
M69 corridor and then you find that that's shut, actually, so you have to go back to Birmingham and start again. Anyway, Jimmy Bob says, how about the best saxophone solo, Just the Way You Are, Billy Joel, also covered by Barry White.
Just the way
Why
you
do you
are.
have to sing every single song?
I thought Barry White's version was better.
Did you?
But Barry White was a babe magnet, wasn't he? Despite the fact that he was the size of a planet.
The size of a whale, I think you might say.
Well, he was known as the Love Walrus.
That's right.
And but I mean, I used to meet young ladies in those days, and once they put a Barry White record on in a disco, I mean, they were putting my hands, if you see what I mean.
That's
not literally.
Too much
obviously.
information.
No, not literally.
The 25 bottles of Baby Shout you gave them before
Baby Chub could have been,
Matt the Potter says, why does the plank sound like a Bond villain when he describes Oktoberfest?
I'm not trying to sound like a Bond villain. I'm just trying to illustrate it to you.
Darren says, why does Porky's German accent sound like Sean Connery when he says Stein?
Stein, that's right.
And Oktoberfest, says Eddie, runs for 16 days and ends the first Sunday in October.
Right.
It should start the 16th of September this year. So it should be called Septemberfest.
Well, sorry, does it run for a month or what?
I don't know. You're the man that told me about it.
Yeah, well, I thought it was called Oktoberfest because it was an October beer festival.
Well, that's what I thought.
I don't know why it runs in September.
Well, I don't know either, but we get things quite often. We get, exactly. We get things slightly wrong. Now, we're going to talk about Martin O'Neill here because Martin O'Neill is having a rough time.
Yeah.
Republic of Ireland, right? They were in pole position to qualify, but it now looks as if they've been leapfrogged over by Wales, right?
Two games ago, and they went away, didn't they, and drew, so they dropped 2 points in their away game.
Well, they dropped 5 points over the two games, really,
yeah,
didn't
they did.
As much as then he got
come
one.
home, and it was Serbia beaten last night.
That's right, yeah.
And
who are top of the league.
Top of the league now. And, and do you know what? That would be such a disappointing result for the Irish because they went down 1-0 in 55 minutes. Now, normally when you're at home and the opposition score in 55 minutes, you breathe a sigh of relief because you've got 35 minutes to get back. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But the problem was they didn't. Had it been a breakaway goal by the opposition in 85 minutes, you could have understood it.
Yes.
But that will be a big disappointment.
Well, it will be, but he still thinks that apparently the Republic can still qualify for Russia.
Could have got the result and probably should have done, really, at the end of it all. Yes, I am. I'm very disappointed, naturally. Very proud of the team, which is very, very important. But we have 2 games left. We can still make it. The most important issue is this year that we're not out of it. But we must win the last 2 games. And that still sets us up, and we've got a chance.
Got a chance. I mean, he's a slightly. He's always
very
upbeat.
Proud of the team.
Yeah, he's always very proud of the team, no matter what they do. By the way, what's happened to Roy Keane? I haven't seen Roy Keane.
I don't know. It's a very good question.
Anywhere in the past sort of few days.
Normally, Roy Keane is thumping tables in press conferences. He's blazing eyes, throwing out challenges to journalists.
Or he's slagging off Man United in some way, shape, or form.
Manchester United, or telling people the way that the thing should be done, even if it's not his own team.
Yes.
He's talking about others. He's been incredibly quiet in this get-together. Has he been given sort of...
Well, has he been neutered or something?
Or has he been given time off from this get-together?
Figuratively, of course. Maybe there was a time when he and O'Neill were kind of double act. And O'Neill would sort of talk after the game, and he would talk before the game.
There were times when I thought that Roy Keane was taking over because he's going to be doing more talking than Martin O'Neill.
Exactly.
Very proud of me, team.
Yeah. Are you seriously morphing him into Brendan Rodgers now?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But they've got problems now, the Irish, because, of course, Wales, by complete and utter contrast, have had a fantastic international break. They came into it on the back of 5 draws. Chris Coleman, with his blazing eyes and
rubber lips
and his talking face. His talking face.
Yeah, he said everybody's got a talking face.
No, every feature on his face exudes, energy and passion and determination. I think he's a great communicator, Chris Coleman.
Yeah, all right.
And he said we've got 4 cup finals to play, and they've played 2 of them, and they've won them both.
Yeah.
And they've done a fantastic job, and now. They've leapt above Ireland, haven't they, by 1 point in that table?
Yeah, well, they're now sort of in pole position if they can get themselves another 2 wins, as Gareth Bale said. They knew they needed 4 wins, and that's what they're going for.
One of them, of course, is they're entertaining Ireland in Cardiff,
That's going to be a great game, actually. Looking forward to that. They were playing in Cardiff, weren't they?
It's in Cardiff, that's right, absolutely. Yeah,
how about this from Darren? It says, try the Stark Beer Fest at the Lowenbrau Keller, or some people say Löwenbrau Keller, in Munich.
Yes.
Lots of Weiss Brit and pork knuckles.
Yeah, I'm not into German food, really.
You're not into any kind of food. No, you don't. I mean, the French have a saying that we we live to eat in France. In Britain, they eat to live.
Yes,
you only eat because you have to.
Well, it keeps you alive, doesn't it? But do you remember that German restaurant we used to go to in New York?
Yes, Ralph's.
Oh, was that Ralph's?
That was Ralph's, It was down on about 21st and 2nd Avenue.
Yeah, it was garbage food in my view.
The food was good.
No, I used to go there because everybody else did. So
the food was very good.
The crowd,
Yeah.
But I didn't really like the nosh at all because what is... what's that cabbage-like stuff?
Sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut, that's right. Yeah, I don't like that.
Don't like that?
No.
Is it too sour for you?
Yeah, it is a bit, really.
What about a kartoffel?
What's kartoffel?
Kartoffel, they do a lot of potatoes. So it's anything with potatoes, really.
The thing I most disliked was the German sausage.
Yeah.
It's too bloody.
Too bloody?
Yes.
Or maybe it was a blood sausage.
It was blood sausage,
well, of course it's bloody.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Idiot. Let's talk sport.
OK, folks, you are, of course, listening to the 2 Mics. We're on talkSPORT with you, and we are with Wickes. Now, Wickes have lowered the price on Blue Circle general-purpose cement. Get 25 kilograms for just £3.79 each when you buy 3 or more.
Certainly has. Now, this is a great sax solo, isn't it?
Now, who's this?
This is Hall & Oates.
Hall & Oates.
Darryl Hall and John Oates. Man-Eater.
Man-Eater.
Great song.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Hall & Oates. They did a couple of others, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, they did loads,
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did loads.
Did they do Footsteps on the Dance Floor?
Not that I know of.
Footsteps on the dance floor.
Not that I know of.
Remind me, baby,
no,
of
you can't start singing. No, I don't think that was them.
Wasn't it?
No, that was another duo, but I think they were English.
Oh, well,
Russell says this. How about Rio by Duran Duran? Not sure if it's been suggested.
Yeah, Duran Duran. Rum Runner Club in Birmingham. That's where I first saw them.
Okay.
Before they became famous.
A lot of people have suggested this one. Chris has done it as well. How about Dire Straits, Your Latest Trick? We can try that one later.
I'm trying to think.
Bill Haley, Shake, Rattle and Roll.
Well, that was the original, wasn't it? That was the guy who originally stood on the drum, didn't he, and played the saxophone while he was standing on the drum.
Well, if you say so.
Yeah, in his Brothel Creepers.
Brothel Creepers. El Blanco. It would be quite explosive.
Absolutely
It'd be good for the 1812 overture at the end, wouldn't it?
Would.
Now, I was just saying before, the Chester Chronicle's not reporting the fact that John McCarthy's been fired. What is going on? You used to work there, didn't you?
I did.
Now, according to Paul, the Chester Chronicle won't be reporting anything at this time of day. 12 bells starts the Blooderation Trail. They're all in the pub.
They're trying to make out that they're in the Diva Hotel across the road, all getting tanked up.
Rather surprising.
I mean, listen, if the manager of your local football club, and let's face it, the Chester Chronicle, is the organ of
well, you
the
would
city.
think.
Yeah,
I mean, they've actually got on the website, they've actually got a section which is just Chester Football Club.
Right, yeah.
But the story's not there.
And, I mean, they must have covered the game last night.
Yeah, the story says McCarthy defiant after defeat.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't actually mention he's been sacked.
But don't you think that the reporter covering the game might have picked up on the coach on the way home that the manager's
it's all over.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he's a man after your own heart and he was too busy getting himself sort of tanked up so that he's now not actually awoken from his torpor.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about Gareth Southgate. We haven't done it for a couple of days.
No, we haven't.
The reason being that Eddie Jones, right,
Yes.
has been talking about the mentality of England's
has.
football and pampered stars.
Yes.
He says they're too concerned with buying flash cars and posh houses, shackled by fear of failure and general apathy. Let's hear what he's got to say about England stars changing their mentality.
Yes.
As an Australian, listening to the English talk about the football, like it's almost like everyone's saying, well, we're going to fail, it doesn't matter, who really cares? And and players hear that, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So what they've got to try to do is to break that in some way. If you say you're going to go to the World Cup and win 2 games, you're saying to your players you're going to lose 2 games. Now, whoever goes in a tournament preparing to lose games?
Well, you can't say fairer than that, can you?
No, you can't. And he made some other points, apparently. He says, England footballers too concerned with buying flash cars and big houses, shackled by the fear of failure. And he thinks, although you see, the strangest thing is, Pep Southgate went to see Eddie Jones to seek motivation.
Well, he obviously didn't think much of Pep Southgate, did he?
Well, no, because in return, he said that as far as Eddie Jones is concerned, he's been a very successful rugby coach. He says the England footballers, to me, seem reluctant to step out of their comfort zone when they're in training.
Yeah.
So if old Southgate went to Eddie Jones looking for inspiration on new training methods, he clearly hasn't been taken on board, has it?
Because the fear of failure, presumably, does not include playing rugby for England. I mean, although you might say that their performance under your mate Stuart Lancaster during the World Cup, which was in this country, was absolutely awful.
But I think
you did.
Yeah.
But I think they didn't fail because they had a fear of failure. I think they failed because they thought, because the Rugby World Cup was in Britain and in England and Twickenham, that they would win it.
Yeah, that's right.
And they were just not good enough.
No, absolutely right.
And they were kind of in the opposite effect,
They were paralysed with fear to do anything, and in fact, Rob Shaw, the captain, made the fatal mistake, didn't he, at the end of the first game, of not putting the ball out and trying to play for a try.
That's right.
And that in itself made it such a debacle.
Yeah, but that was very much a captain's error, wasn't it?
Well, it was captain's error, but then again, you're saying to yourself, what were they teaching them in training? To have been so rigidly adhering to that sort of philosophy.
But that is part of the problem, isn't it? If your mental attitude to winning is not what it should be, then you're going to make the wrong decisions.
Absolutely.
But he does say, Eddie Jones, in fairness to him and his relationship with Gareth Southgate, Gareth is a very positive coach, and you can see he's trying to change things.
Yes, well, you can, but I think he's just probably being nice there, isn't he?
But actually, that's kind of being damned with faint praise, isn't it?
Of course it is.
If somebody said to me, what do you think of Mike Parry? And I said, he's a very positive individual.
Yeah, and he tries to change things.
Yes, that means basically I don't like you.
Yeah, that's right, and you're getting in the way.
It's the nicest thing I can think of saying about you. Very positive.
Yes, that's right, and maybe you could push off.
It's all this kind of management speak,
Management speak. Listen, just to recap on what we were talking about with Wales and Ireland, okay?
Yes.
Let me tell you that the big crunch game, and I mean, this is going to be a huge one, potentially, is on the 9th of October, Wales versus Republic of Ireland at what's now called the Cardiff City Stadium.
Yes.
In Cardiff,
okay? So that's not the Millennium Stadium, is it? That's where they're going to play it then. They're not playing the Millennium Stadium.
That is Cardiff City's ground.
Cardiff City's a different stadium,
absolutely.
I mean, you can see it. It's right next door, practically.
It's just
not
on the railway bridge.
It'll be on Arms Park, where the old Arms Park used to be.
That's right, before that, on the 6th of October, because that's another international weekend, obviously, 2 games in 3 days, the Republic of Ireland host Moldova. and Wales have to go to Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
And let me just tell you what the table tells you. The table tells you...
What table?
The table for their group.
Oh, I see.
With Georgia in 5th place and not doing too well. They only have 5 points. And Moldova, who the Republic of Ireland will play at the same time, are even worse.
Okay.
They've only got 2 points. So they might both win those games, and the crunch match will be last one, Wales, Republic of Ireland.
Yeah, absolutely right.
The
thing that's complicating everything, though, for this whole tournament and qualification process is this mad idea that you take away the points that you got for playing the team that come bottom.
That's right.
It's very odd, isn't it?
It is very odd.
Because you can't work that out until right near the end.
No, you can't. And I saw the Northern Ireland manager,
Mr.
O'Neill, trying to work that out.
Michael O'Neill. Yeah. Do you want to know how you did with your predictions yesterday?
Yes, please.
You predicted the score in the Moldova-Wales game 0-2.
Yes.
It was, you predicted it to be 1-3.
Yes.
And the result was 2-0.
Yes.
And on the Ireland-Serbia front, we both predicted a draw, 2-2 for you, 1-1 for me, and it was 1-0 to Serbia.
Okay, so I was nearer right than you were.
No,
certainly
it was
with
about
the Wales
the same.
one.
No,
Wales
about the same.
No, Wales was a gap of 2 goals.
What?
An advantage of 2 goals to Wales.
No, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does.
No, how many goals the gap is of no consequence.
Yeah.
How about this? Tom Davies' brother plays for Chester FC, according to Fitzy.
Does he?
Yeah.
Tom Davies' brother?
Yeah.
Who's Tom?
Tom Davies plays for Everton.
Oh, Tom, of course. Yes, he does, yeah.
God's sake.
And is the nephew of...
Have you seen the time, by the way? Look at the time.
Alan.
Yeah, Footsteps was by Womack and Womack.
Oh, Womack and Womack, okay.
Nothing like Hall & Oates.
Okay, thank you.
This is talkSPORT.
Thank you. As your TV reviewer, I can reveal there are no plans for a new series.
Yeah, no, but wasn't there a previous series?
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It says here there might be a new series. What's the problem?
That music can only mean one thing. It is, of course, time for Porky Vision, which is, of course, the best TV review this side, perhaps, of the Himalayas. We didn't get around to talking about the Himalayan duck, but we may do a bit of that a little bit later on.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, flies over the Himalayas. Extraordinary beast.
It flew over the Eiger. No, not the Eiger.
The Eiger? You mean Everest?
Everest, yeah. Flew over Everest.
Well, it flew kind of almost over it.
Yeah, it did,
22,000 feet. So, Everest, 26,000.
And you've always doubted my fact that ducks fly so high, and all sorts of birds, geese usually, fly so high that their lungs get crushed by the cold and they drop out the sky and kill people by falling on their heads.
Well, because I've never heard that story actually happen to anyone. That's why.
It has happened. Now then, let me tell you. Now,
what have you been watching?
Well, this is great. This is very, very interesting because Dr. Foster's back, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Now,
I've never watched that.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. But I'm not going to tell you about it because...
Why?
Because I've had a million requests this morning. People know that Porky Vision's coming up.
Yeah.
They haven't seen it. So it's the first episode...
Oh, well, so the first time ever you're actually acceding to people's request not to give away the ending of a show.
The first episode was broadcast last night.
Yeah.
It was sensational.
Was it?
You know, I can tell you that now.
All right.
But I am not going to review it.
Sensational.
Because I've had millions of requests from people this morning saying, please don't tell us what happened in Dr. Foster. So looking forward to
why weren't
seeing
they watching it?
Because people have busy lives and they can't always watch it à ce moment.
I see.
You know, sometimes they put it on the old Sky
Is it
box.
on ITV or is it on BBC?
It is on... It's on ITV.
Is it? So you have to watch the ITV player then to have a look at it?
No, you could have recorded it I did.
But there's an ITV player that you can watch.
I've seen it, but I recorded it as well to watch it a second time.
Why do you want to watch it twice?
Well, because I want to make sure I didn't miss anything the first time. Okay.
Well, you would have missed the bits when you got up to pour yourself another glass, presumably.
No, I wouldn't know.
Was to send out for some emergency supplies.
No, I always put it on pause when that particular necessity has to be...
Do you ever do that with a football, by the way?
What?
Put it on pause?
No.
I've never understood how that works.
How could you do that? Because then...
No, you can, though.
Well, I know you can, but then you are watching a game in unreal time.
Yeah, but I've never quite understood how they can do that. Do you know what I mean?
Like, what do you mean, they?
Well, the people that are running the football tournaments and the football channels, i.e. Sky, right?
Yeah.
If you pause the football while the game is live, you can then watch it as if it is live without ever catching up to it being live, you see what I mean?
Yeah, but why would you want to do that?
Well, because you might want to get... Maybe the phone rings or something, you have to do something.
That's what you mean,
In the middle of a game, you can pause it.
The problem is you're living in a parallel world then, because you're watching a game that's like 5 minutes older than you are.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I've never quite understood how they can do that.
Anyway, well, stop, giving us all this drivel, because I've got an important TV review.
By the way, it's on the BBC, I'm told.
Oh, it's on BBC, is it? Yeah, okay. Well,
so you got that wrong as well.
No, don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. It's irrelevant these days. Channels are irrelevant.
Okay.
A multi-channel broadcasting.
Yes.
What's it matter?
Exactly.
Now then, what I was going to tell you about was this. Now, do you remember that J.K. Rowling, who's one of the world's most successful ever authors, and rightly so, a very talented lady.
Very controversial on Twitter now.
She can be quite controversial, but that's a matter for herself.
Yeah.
She then decided to find out whether she was any good at writing apart from Harry Potter. And you don't really need to prove yourself, do you?
Well,
when
not
you've been
really.
as successful as that. So she wrote.
She's only made about 700 million quid.
About £750 million.
Yeah.
Very good. So she then decided to write under a pseudonym.
Yes. Did she not do that because she didn't want to be given an easy ride? Because she didn't want to be.
Yeah, she didn't want people to go out and buy books just because they had her name on the front.
Yeah.
So it's a new challenge, so you have to admire her for that. So she wrote one called The Cuckoo's Calling.
Okay.
And the star of it was a rather unconventional private eye called Cormorant Strike.
Oh, not Cuckoo.
Yeah, no, The Cuckoo's Calling is the name of the book.
Right. Well, who's the cuckoo then?
Well, I'm going to explain that to you if you just shut up.
Sorry.
Because
There's Cormorant in it as well.
No. Cormorant Strike is a very strange name of the private detective.
Oh, I see.
It's not a cormorant, it's Cormoran.
Oh, right.
And this guy, and the reason I'm telling you this is because they've made the book into a 3-part TV series called Cormorant Strike.
Is that on ITV as well?
Yes, and that's now concluded. Right. So I can tell you exactly what happens.
Okay, all right.
So what happens is, this Cormorant Strike guy is a bit unconventional because he's a private eye.
Yes.
But he's also a slob of the first order. I mean, in a way, he's a very cliched private eye. He sleeps on a couch in his pokey office above a guitar shop in Soho.
A guitar shop.
A guitar shop, yeah. A guitar shop.
A guitar shop.
A guitar shop in Soho.
Right. Well, Berwick Street or somewhere.
Yeah, Berwick Street, somewhere like that.
Okay.
His office is a mess. He decides to call in a temporary, secretary and she finds out that the man lives out of pizza boxes and all that. Very cliche.
Yes.
The scruffy.
Is he sort of overweight as well?
No, he's not overweight, but he's a chain smoker.
Smokes,
drinks out of a bottle of vodka and all this kind of stuff. Very cliched. But it gets better actually as you go through episode 1, 2, and 3. We then find out that he's a war veteran.
Oh, yeah.
And he's only got one leg because his other one got blown off in Afghanistan.
Okay.
Right.
Well, he's got a prosthetic leg, presumably.
He's got a prosthetic leg, yeah. So
you find this very amusing, though, don't you?
I don't find it amusing, but the problem is, and again, this is a bit cliche.
Yeah.
He needs to go and track down somebody who he needs to investigate. And he goes to this block of council flats, and it's like 22 floors. But unfortunately, all the lifts are broken.
Oh, dear.
So, do you know how hard it is to walk up 22 flights of stairs?
I do.
With a gammy leg?
It's pretty hard to walk.
Or actually, with only one leg and a prosthetic
It's pretty hard to
leg.
do it with both legs,
It
to be honest.
It is, yeah.
It's actually very hard to walk down them as well.
It is, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So he struggles to get up these stairs, and when he gets up these stairs, he finds a woman drowned in a bath full of boiling hot water.
Really?
But stupidly, he goes to try and pull her out and burns all his hands.
How does he get in there in the first place?
Well, funny enough, when he gets to the door and he knocks 3 times and
Yeah.
rings the bell, there's water pouring. He gets the hint something might be wrong.
Yeah.
Because water's pouring out from under the door.
No, he's quite smart.
So being
the door open.
No. Being a private dick,
Yeah.
which is what Humphrey Bogart called himself once in the Maltese Falcons.
Did he have an office above a guitar shop as well?
No, I don't think he did. No.
You see the time, by the way.
Yeah, well, I don't want
Luckily, we're running out of it.
Yeah, so he pulls a set of dodgy keys out of his pocket and messes around with the lock and gets in.
All right.
But then this woman's dead, so there's not much point. But the thing
Who's
is,
she then?
well, she's something to do with a model.
Right.
And the model I'm talking about is as famous as Naomi Campbell is in real life,
right.
But she's left some high society party, previously, gone home, and then somebody threw her out the window.
Right.
In the snow.
Really?
Yeah, and we haven't had snow in
Sounds
London
very
for a long
violent.
time. Yeah.
Very violent.
So he's then asked to investigate the death because the cops think it's suicide.
Right.
But
And now he's found another dead woman.
He's found another dead woman in the bath.
Right.
And then there's a lot of sort of cliched stuff about him working with the local cops and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
But the thing I don't get is, I used to wonder why in America, when, the Rockford Files, when
Yes.
Jim Rockford used to sort of just walk into places and say, Jim Rockford, private investigator.
Yeah.
People didn't just laugh at him and throw him out.
Right.
But I thought, well, in America, the culture of private investigators is actually quite well known.
It's a lot deeper, yeah.
Anyway, this is the first time I've seen a private investigator in this country walk into places like police stations and into people's homes and into people's businesses and say, who's got a very mad name. His name is Cormoran Strike.
You already told me that.
Oh, I told you that.
Cormoran, yeah.
And he says, my name's Cormoran Strike, and he says I'm a private investigator.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you investigating? I'm investigating the death of the model. So,
Yeah.
okay, well, how can we help you?
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody ever came up to me and I said, I haven't got time to help you, son. I'm sorry. You know.
If you're a police officer?
No. If I was a member of the public and somebody knocked on my door and said, I'm Cormoran Strike, private investigator.
Why wouldn't you help him?
Well, I'd say, first of all, show me your identity.
Show your identity, yeah, which you would do, right?
Which none of them asked him, right? And all this sort of stuff.
Okay.
So then, and by the way, he then meets another model who, I know it's a funny joke, and he makes a joke.
Right.
And he says, really?
Suitable.
Sorry?
Not a suitable joke.
No, he makes a joke, which is a suitable joke. And he says, really?
Not good, is it?
But that was the joke,
Yeah.
you know. Anyway.
Doesn't sound like much of a show, this, to be honest.
Well, it took me a bit of time to get into it.
The way you're describing it.
It took me a bit of time to get into it. Meanwhile, at the same time, of course, what's going to happen is that the temporary secretary who's come to work for him is slowly falling in love with this rugged, sort of...
he's rugged as well.
Well, he's rugged, yeah.
I thought he was a slob. You can't be rugged and a slob.
Well, you know what his job was in Afghanistan?
What?
He was in the Royal Military Police.
Okay.
He was a red...
A red cap.
A red cap,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, a red beret, actually, not a red cap. You've seen a picture of him. And his father is famous as a rock star. His father was a rock star.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that why he works above a guitar shop?
Yeah, could be. Yeah, it could be.
Jack's asking this question on Twitter. Is this story ever going to come to a conclusion?
Yeah, well, it is.
Hashtag Porky Vision.
Yeah, because as usual, what happens is old Cormoran Strike watches, after a mad drinking binge, where he, is making no sense at all about anything. He watches the CCTV of the road outside the Killing House, right?
Oh, yeah.
20 or 30 times, and then amazingly, light bulb goes off in his head.
Yeah,
I've cracked it.
Yeah,
I know who killed her. Right.
So did it turn out to be right?
Well, I don't know, because that's the last episode, which I haven't had time to look at yet.
I thought you'd seen all of them.
No, I know, but I know what the conclusion is. But I don't want to ruin people's enjoyment of it, because that's only just...
Tom says this, I watched and enjoyed this cuckoo programme. Yeah. Porky's managed to get every single detail absolutely wrong.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
Anyway, is that it now? Because we're out of time.
Yeah, well, I think that's all people need to know. I'll give you the rest of it in the same slot next week.
Great.
Yes.
Can't wait.
Yes.
That was Porky Vision.
Yes.
This is talkSPORT. Two mics on talkSPORT with Wix. Wix have lowered the price on Blue Circle General Purpose Cement. Get 25 kilograms for just $3.79 each when you buy 3 or more. Smooth Operator, remember this
Smooth
one?
Operator, I certainly do, yeah.
Sade.
I think that's the last of the old saxophone
We're not going to get any
greats.
more in, unfortunately. A couple of people have been asking what on earth you were rambling on about there with Porky Vision.
Yeah.
James suggests that Money by Pink Floyd also has a great sax solo, which is good, which is very true. And also, of course, a couple of people say that J.K. Rowling actually makes a cameo appearance, like Hitchcock, in this particular show you were talking about. Steve Hewitt's told us that. PVC leather getting in a taxi.
That's right, apparently, but I didn't spot that one.
Mark says, what the hell is Porky going on about? That's 20 minutes I'll never get back.
Well, I'm sorry, you should have listened more intensely, shouldn't you? Then you'd have known.
Right. Yeah, well, now, a momentous moment yesterday in the world of sport. In the midst of its international break, a young man by the name of John Motson announced that he was retiring from the football business.
At the end of the season.
This is a guy who has covered probably more football than anyone alive. 10 World Cups, 29 FA Cup finals, 10 European Championships, 200-plus England games.
Yeah.
He is also, of course, an OBE.
Yep.
Let's welcome him now to the show. John, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome.
Hello, Mike and Mike.
Yeah.
Nice to talk to two smooth operators, by the way.
Hey, that's great. Thank you very much
you
indeed.
Still got it, Motty. That's the thing. What a fantastic career you've had. What made you decide to finally hang up the old microphone?
Well, it's 50 years next year, Mike, 2018, since I joined BBC Radio. You don't have to be a mathematician to work out that was 1968. So everyone has their time. Everything comes to an end eventually, and I've had some great years, and I didn't want to hang around and still be there when I was making mistakes and people were saying he's lost it and all that type of thing. So the BBC have helped me a lot with this, because I'm going to have a farewell tour, and I'm going to go to every Premier League ground for the last time as a commentator anyway. Hope. By the way, I'm not putting the slippers on and putting the pipe in my mouth yet. Although I'm leaving the BBC, I hope still to be in touch with football and with broadcasting in some way or another.
That'd be fantastic, John.
Well, you might even end up here,
exactly.
Well, I was hoping I was doing the interview, Mike.
Well, exactly. You won't be the last legend.
Unfortunately, Porky has no influence here at all. In fact, you don't want to associate yourself with him.
That's a bit harsh. John, listen, you've got to tell us and tell our millions of listeners, please, what was the origin of the sheepskin coat?
Well, the sheepskin coat was something that I kind of got attached to early on in my career, because even now, you can't go into a big West End store and buy a full-length sheepskin coat. They can sell you a jacket, but I went and I decided I met somebody who made them. In fact, I've had them made by a lot of people over the years. And I thought, well, I'm going to just try and wear this more to keep warm than anything else. And then one day, people remember this, I think. I was about to commentate in the snow at Wickham. This was an FA Cup tie against Peterborough in 1990. And an hour before the game, or probably 2 hours, there was a freak snowstorm in the Thames Valley, and the game was postponed. And I had to stand in front of the camera and explain to the grandstand viewers. I think you'll remember grandstand, can't you? Rest in peace, yeah. Okay. I was standing in front of the camera explaining why this sudden postponement had taken place. And believe it or not, I looked awful, because I had a peak cap on and the sheepskin coat, and I was in a snowdrift. and there was a guy there standing behind the television camera who actually was trying to get together a series of unusual scenes at football grounds for a postcard series. and he got this picture of me, and from then on, people always said, where were you that day in the snow? And every time the FA Cup comes round in November or December, if the snow is on the ground, the BBC will kind of seek out this video and show it yet again, and I look more and more hopeless and disenchanted every time it comes out.
Well, I wouldn't say so. I'd say historical.
It really is. I mean, people are tweeting us now saying, can't believe you've got the legendary voice of John Motson on.
That's right.
I mean, you must have seen thousands of goals, John, and amazingly, not amazingly, I suppose, for those of us who also saw it, Ronnie Radford, Hereford against Newcastle, 1972, is your favourite goal.
Well, it changed my life, really, Mike. I mean, and that's not an exaggeration. I mean, I was sent to Hereford that day because it was a replay from a previous round, which had been postponed many times. And I was sent there as the junior commentator just to read the last rites, if you like, and Newcastle would obviously win, they thought. And 10 minutes from the end, Malcolm McDonald put them ahead, and it all seemed over. I was going to get 2.5 minutes on the air. And then Ronnie Radford, who I still see, we're still in touch with each other, Ronnie hit this ball out the mud from 40 yards, and it screamed in the top corner, and I didn't know it then. But that was really the biggest bit of luck I had in my career, because Ricky George, who I also knew well, I knew him better than Ronnie at that time, of course, and since, he scored the winner in extra time, and the match was propelled to the top of the show with an audience then of 10 million.
Fantastic.
And luckily for me, the bosses then decided that I could be trusted with what turned out to be a major game. And we went from there, really.
Oh, well, that's fantastic, John. We all need a bit of luck in life. And do you know what it's all about? It's whether or not you cash in on that bit of luck rather than waste it.
Well, there's that great phrase, it's better to be lucky than good.
It certainly is. And, John, is the book of your life already out?
Yes, I've actually got a book now that I've been just finishing this week about my experiences at the 10 World Cups I went to.
Brilliant.
So, if you know any friendly publishers, Mike, get them to give me a call, because it's just ready to go. They don't have to do anything. It's already written and been revised and subbed and everything. It's just there to hand over to a would-be reader.
Absolutely fantastic. We know a publishing agent. We've done a bit of business with.
We'll get him on the
case.
We'll
get him on.
Listen, John, lovely to talk to you.
You boys have got that kind of influence, you see, because you're on the air all the time.
Don't worry.
What about Everton, by the way, boys?
Well, okay. We've had a 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss, and
sparkling start.
We need to rev up a bit. But I mean, very, very pleased with their buying policy over the summer. I think it might take Mr. Koeman just a couple of games to pull it all together.
Exactly right.
I agree with that. Just how you're going to replace Lukaku's goals, that's all.
Well, we would have hoped
that's the big problem.
Big striker. But
very true. Sadly, we're out of time, John. Listen, we'll have to get you back on for a longer chat because there's a lot more we need to find out from you and about some of your views on the world of particularly international football as well. Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.